With that, I'm going to welcome everyone to the Town of Wakefield Board of Appeals meeting for Wednesday, August 14th. I'll remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and it will be available for replay on the town's website within a few days. We're going to start off by taking attendance. I'm going to note that Kirsten Brown, one of our assistant, alternate members, is unable to attend tonight. But with that, I'll start with a regular roll call. Dave Hatfield.
Here.
Kip Tarbell.
Here.
Joe Pride.
Here.
Mickey Feely.
Here.
Kasumi Humphreys.
Yeah.
Greg Demersion.
Here.
And I am Tom Lucy. I am obviously here. With that, going to ask the clerk to read the legal notice for the meeting. Joe?
Sure thing. Consistent with the governor's orders, extended certain provisions of the open meeting law, every effort will be made to allow the public to view and or listen to this meeting in real time. If you do not have a camera or microphone on your computer, you may use the following dial-in number. 1-301-715-8592, meeting ID 851-4755-5719, passcode 026596. Please only use dial-in or computer and not both, as audio feedback will distort the meeting. This meeting will be audio and video recorded. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, this location is accessible to people with disabilities. Wakefield provides readers reasonable accommodations and or language assistance free of charge upon request. If you are a person with a disability and require information on materials in an alternate format, or if you require any other accommodation, please contact the town's disability coordinator, William Renault, town engineer, at 781-246-6308 as far in advance of the event as possible. Every effort will be made to grant your request. Advance notification will enable the town to make reasonable arrangements to remove an accessibility barrier for you. 1. Continued hearings. 2. 25-2. Matthew C. Chambers, application for variance under Article 6, Section 190-31C of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to construct in addition onto the existing single-family dwelling. The property is shown as map 10, lot parcel 7E of the assessor's map, and is located at 5 Sylvan Avenue. 3, 25-3, 25-4, 25-5. 33 West Water Street LLC, application for a special permit and site plan approval under Article 6, Section 190-32 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow an 11-unit garden apartment building. Application for a special permit under Article 6, Section 190-32.1, seeking reductions and or alterations to the dimensional controls which are required under Section 190-32D, Table 2D, Table of Dimensional Requirements of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. Application for a special permit under Article 7, Section 190-36C, seeking reductions in the requirements and or standards of off-street parking and loading under Articles 7 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw. The property is shown as map 12, lot parcel 222 plus of the assessor's map, and is located at 33 West Water Street. 4, 25-6, 25-7, Jesse Raposa and Nahia Brawl, application for variance under Article 10, Section 190-66, seeking a variance from requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw, proposing to construct in addition onto a single-family dwelling. Application for determination and or finding with respects to a continuation and extension of non-conforming uses under Article 9, Section 190-50 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to construct in addition onto an existing family dwelling. The property is shown as map 27, lot parcel 65B of the assessor's map, and is located at 18 Cooper Street. 5, 25-8, Michael Casuli, trustee of the Mac Realty Trust and Casoli Family Trust, and 7 Continents Montessori School LLC, application for a special permit under Article 4, Section for section 190-23 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw for a daycare center and modify the special permit and modification decisions granted by the Board of Appeals and filed with the Wakefield Town Clerk on November 5th, 2013 and March 5th, 2015. The property is shown as map 24. Lot parcels 2022A, 23A, 21 of the assessors map, and is located at 957, 959 Main Street, 379, 383 Main Street, and 6 Greenwood Street, Board of Appeals.
Okay, thank you, Joe. We're gonna get started with, I'm gonna read some continuances or actually some withdrawals into the record, but I will make note, people will notice that things are slightly different tonight. The town's been, like a lot of other towns, in their public meetings have been getting Zoom bombed a lot. So we've, this is the new procedure that we have. That's why you had to sign in. And I have to keep that enter chime on, which I know can be annoying, so I apologize for any of the speakers if that's going off way of trying to make a point, but we've been asked by the town to do it this way to prevent that or to minimize the impact of the Zoom bombs. So with that, as is our custom, I have a couple of correspondence here regarding a couple of cases that we have. First one is from Attorney Brian McGrail, dated August 12th, regarding Northeast Warehouse Boston LLC, located at 3 Melvin Street. Case numbers 2377, 2378, 2379, and 2448. Dear Mr. Chair, on behalf of my clients, Northeast Warehouse Boston LLC, I respectfully request that the Board of Appeals allow the above referenced application to be withdrawn without prejudice at this time. We anticipate refiling in the future once a new concept plan and building style is developed and finalized. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw the application at 3 Melvin Street without prejudice.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Regular voting members, any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So if you're here for that, folks, tonight, that's not going forward. Second letter from Attorney Brian McGrail, dated August 12, 2024, regarding the application from Marie D. Spindler, trustee of the Marie D. Spindler Revocable Trust of 2014, 71 Renwick Road, case number 2449. Dear Mr. Chair, on behalf of my client, Marie D. Spindler, trustee of the Marie D. Spindler Revocable Trust of 2014, I respectfully request that the Board of Appeals allow the above referenced application to be withdrawn without prejudice at this time. So looking for the same there.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw the application at 71 Renwick Road without prejudice.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Regular voting members, any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that matter is no longer moving forward. On to our regular agenda. The first item under continued hearings is case 2410, the residences at Nahant LLC. I believe I saw Mr. Panos on the line. A little update to the board. As you saw, we just received the TAC memo this morning. And no member of the TAC can be here tonight. So I've been in contact with Mr. Panos. We're not going to discuss traffic tonight because we don't have our subject matter experts, and the applicant wouldn't have had time to respond appropriately to the memo. So it's going to be our intention to hold a special meeting of the board in early September. I'm looking at Tuesday night, September 3rd as a possible date. I'd like board members to check that out and email me separately. Obviously without discussing the case, but just talk about their availability. Mr. Panos, that works for the board. Would that work for your team?
I have to confirm, Jason Panos for the record, practicing law at 246 Andover Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. I have to confirm with Scott Thornton from BAI, our traffic consultant. The only thing that comes to mind it is the day after Labor Day, so
Right.
to the extent that people are still winding down vacations and that type of thing, that's the only thing I can anticipate would get in the way of that. I'm available. Is
If
it
you could
fair?
check it out and email me as soon as possible
Yep.
tomorrow, that would be appreciated. Yeah, we
Yep.
just have to get it in. Obviously, the 180 days is September 11th, so there's not
Right.
many weeknights between now and then. And to your point, I think we'd have more trouble getting a quorum and people there in the last week of August than in the first week of September. So
Sure,
that's what we're trying to do.
sure.
So with that, Mr. Panos, I know you had other material that you submitted at the end of last week. Oh, actually, but I'm sorry, board members, do you have any questions about that or statements or concerns? Okay, hearing, seeing none. Back to Mr. Panos, if you wanna, I know you had some lighting plans and other material that you were prepared to discuss tonight.
Yeah, so by way of administrative matters, I know that our engineering consultant, Scott Cameron from Warren Cameron, has been corresponding back and forth with Bill Renault. They've been trying to coordinate a meeting to go over some of the last remaining items on engineering. We submitted a letter. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but the DPW just issued a memo about 5 o'clock today. Are you in
Yes, I
possession of
saw
that?
it.
Okay,
Well, we saw it. I haven't been able to confirm that our team has gone through it, but we did see it. And I know there are a couple of outstanding issues that Scott would like to speak with Bill about, and those conversations are underway. Scott is on the line, but we also submitted a lighting plan, and Stefano Basso from SB Design is also on the line to present that. So if it pleases the board, I just through the chair like to have Stefano present that lighting plan, and then back to you, Mr. Chair, and
that sounds
board
good.
members.
Mr. Basso,
All right, thanks, Jason. Pulling up the lighting plan here. So this is a photometric plan put together by our lighting consultant. I've circled all the light fixtures on site just so it's a little bit easier to read. I know it's really tough on the presentation stream, so hoping this gives us a fighting chance here. We have a mix of pole mounted lights and wall packs mounted on the building. The two fixture types are here over on the right side. So the pole mounted lights are a coned black fixture, dark sky compliant, throwing light downward, and the wall packs are the same, trying to cast all their light wide but low. We've increased the number of lights since doing the lighting study. So we've gone up to 14 pole mounted fixtures and 4 wall mounted fixtures. So the pole mounted fixtures generally ring the driveway on the outside here, all the way around the site. There is one pole light on the inside over here on the west side of the building. The wall packs are located at the 2 garage door entries here and here. And then there's one by the main entry on the east side of the building, and another one at the outdoor lawn area here. So in this plan that you all received, the numbers on the plan are showing the number of foot candles on the ground. So generally you can see that there are higher numbers close to the light fixtures, and as you move away from light fixtures, the numbers drop down, eventually reaching 0. The prescribed range of foot candles is 0.5 for commercial use and 0.3 for residential use. So you can see that in spacing the light fixtures, in terms of the number of fixtures and the distance between them, we're trying to achieve good lighting for safety without overlighting the site. We're trying to direct all the light where we want it to go, so we're able to kind of orient the light so that, and just looking at this one, for instance, you have a lot of light shining on the driveway here, less light going behind the fixture to the right side off property here. So looking through, all of these areas are within that 0.3 or 0.5 range. We have some additional information on the specific fixtures that are specified. I'm not an expert in terms of all the specs on the light, but if anybody has specific questions, I can jot them down and we can get a more detailed response from the lighting consultant. We've also brought this information back onto our landscape plan. So the architectural landscape plan reflects the updated light fixture locations and has a tag for each light type. So this P1 light here, for instance, and the wall pack, the W1 here. Happy to look at any specific areas, or Dave, do you have a question?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry if I missed it. I just not seen it on the plan. How tall is the proposed parking lot fixtures, the poles themselves?
Let's see.
I just don't see it in the table. It's talking about the fixtures,
Yeah.
but how tall are you proposing to make these poles?
These, I think we typically do 18 foot, but let me confirm that, because the calculations obviously are based on the height of the fixture too. That affects the throw. So I can get a response for you on that.
Other board members, do you remember how tall we typically look for something like this, especially something in a residential neighborhood?
Residential, we don't want to be much more than 15.
I was thinking that number, 4 to 15, maybe, yeah. But again, it
We're
depends
bad.
on how these calculations
And
are
as low
drawn.
as 12. It all depends on how these are pretty close together. My assumption would be they're probably 15. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The question I had is, doesn't every exterior door have to have a light on it and over it? And I know there are some doors here that don't have a fixture that you're commenting on, like the mail package room door and
Yep.
the stairs.
Yep.
I thought every door had to have a light. That was an exit out of the building.
We can certainly add.
I don't want you to. I think
Lights.
it's code though, isn't it?
Well,
I would just check your code to see whether exterior, who did the lighting plan?
Illuminate.
Okay, so they should know what the code is, but I believe we've run into this in the past, that every, we see a lighting plan and then we see the building and all of a sudden there's a pack over every door. We're like, those weren't on the lighting plan. Oh, well, code, they made us put them in. So please check the code and find out if this needs to be altered based on lights at door exits from the building.
Yeah, we can double check that.
And then doesn't your parking is not, your parking area is lit and has screens and openings and stuff like that, right? It's
Parking
not
garage.
It's not a closed system, is it?
It's an open garage. Yep.
Right, so there are lights, so we don't have any world on how the lights are, and there'll be spill from the lights and the openings as well. So that's not shown on here.
Yeah,
Right.
we'd be happy to include some information. I know you see some open parking garages with some pretty harsh fluorescent lighting.
Correct.
That looks like a surgical suite in there as you drive by. So we
Yep.
can include some information just so that it's in the decision and you own a certain level of light in there that's visible.
Yeah, and then how they're gonna be worked, how do they come on and off with occupancy? You know, what's the spill? Because if you have, 0.9 on your sheet and it's right outside an open area, it's not gonna be 0.9 because there's gonna be spill from the interior out. So I think you need to coordinate the information from inside to outside and make sure this is a very accurate lighting plan.
Yeah, we can
Uh,
submit a revised version for sure.
As part of that, Mr. Basso, if you could indicate where the openings are in the garage, and then pencil in or somehow sketch in, where are the abutting properties?
Mhm.
So we're gonna want to understand if there's any impact on neighboring properties.
Because
So
those, I think we see the openings, but again,
Right.
not
How
in
they-
coordination with adjacent properties.
Right.
Be
All right,
good to
Kasumi,
highlight all that.
Kasumi, I see your hand up. You're on mute, Kasumi. There you go.
I was gonna ask, are you planning on anything like decorative fixtures for your main entrance? Because I don't see, you only have two types of fixtures on the site.
Yeah, we're using the black. So this is the wall pack that we're using. Kind of a simple design that'll blend in. We're not, calling for any gooseneck lighting or any bollards or anything that would be more decorative like that with the lighting package.
But that's like a backup house light fixtures. So you are not planning anything like wall sconce or anything like that on the main entrance on the both side.
Correct. Yep.
And then I think I agree with Chip that you need to have those lights on every door going outside. And then I also want to see like how like the close the neighbors are. I don't know if neighbor is gonna be like the yard is gonna be all lit all night with those poles because they are like right by the property lines.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can see this one, it drops down to a point one at the edge of the neighboring house here.
Okay, like you said, if we can just sketch the rest of the properties that abut this in there, that would be good too.
Okay.
Mickey, I saw you had your hand up. I'm sorry, Kasumi, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, Mickey,
It was basically on the same track. I was going to ask him to blow up this area, which shows some 7s and 6s, and where they are at the. I assume that's the house outline, or the home outline there. Then now I know that they're a little bit over the 3 to 5 range that is ideal. Is there a way to dim those, or are we just going to say those are over what's recommended? Though you had said earlier that 0.3 to 0.5 in a residential area is cool. These are 0.6s and 7s.
So the 0.3 or the 0.5 is generally considered the minimum amount of light that you like to see. Understanding that, it's never going to be a completely even level of light throughout an exterior space like this.
What you're saying is that's the minimum that you'd like to see. What's the maximum that you can handle? That's what you're saying. Minimum that you like to see doesn't really make sense to me.
Right. So when you're spacing the fixtures out, if you space them further out, further apart, and you drop down to a 0.1 or a 0, that's not acceptable for safety and egress purposes.
Okay.
So they like to see the minimum at the point, furthest between the lights, be, between 0.3 and 0.5. But
And you're-
we can work with them to see if we can,
You're
reduce.
concentrating on safety in the bounds of the site, which I get and I totally appreciate. But I'm also focused on bright lights on people's windows, which is what we're showing here is 0.7, 0.6, right next to somebody's house. That's what I'm concerned about in this case. I assume safety is up to you guys. But I don't want that in my window if I'm that neighbor. So just look at that and look at ways to reduce that. Is what I'm asking.
Sure thing.
All right, thank you, Mickey. Is that, you set with that? All right, Greg?
Hey, thanks. So just, I don't know if we're showing all exterior lighting on this plan, but just wanted to ask what the plan would be for lighting on the balconies out front. Are those gonna be controlled by tenants or will they be on all night?
We typically have a really low output wall mounted sconce that we do next to a sliding door. So those would be tenant controlled lights.
Can we see what those look like and what the specs on those are too, please?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Chair, just to follow
Add
up
to
on,
that, this should include all lights, that, because you've got zeros out front, but they won't be zeros if everybody has their porch lights on, to Greg's point. So you should assume worst case scenario, which is that if everybody has their outside lights, what does that, I think this Paul America is only based on whoever did the pole lights and these couple door lights. I don't think it really takes all the lighting on the site into play here. And that's what we're really looking for.
And there's also some street lights out in front of the building.
Yep, so they have an effect, so that should be shown on this plan as well.
Dave, you were gonna say something?
yeah, no, just piggybacking on Mickey's point, I think, I forget the project, might have been the DPW one. Where they act physically like shielded the back of the light poles. Do you remember that, Chip? Like to prevent any spill off the site, like to Mickey's point, they whatever the fixture they used, they shielded them somehow on the backs. So they really didn't spill it all off or very minimally off the site. It was really casting it on the site. I don't know if what the fixture type was. I don't remember the details. I just remember it was done on at least one or more projects. The DPW one comes to mind because I know there's a property, 2 or 3 story house right next to that parking lot.
Yeah, Dave, you're correct. They have these lights, and I don't know whether these pole lights do, but pole lights can have shields on the back for this exact reason.
Right.
When they're in such a tight proximity to neighbors.
So just something to consider as well, Mr. Bassett.
And I think, I'm assuming they're looking for a variance from what the flow is allowed to be in our bylaw, because that's all restricted. And a variance isn't the right term, but whatever those 40B criteria are.
Potentially another waiver or something.
A waiver, excuse me.
Waiver.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Mr. Basso, if you could look into what Mr. Hatfield suggested as well.
Will do.
Any other comments, questions from the board? Okay, I think you have the list of questions and things we're looking for, Mr. Basso?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Panos, was there anything else you wanted to present tonight?
Mr. Chair, as a result of some of the back and forth between engineering and Scott Cameron, Moore and Cameron Group, there were some additional site plan changes that were since forwarded to the board, and Scott is now available to briefly walk through those, if you feel that's a good use of the board's time tonight.
Sure, if we can take one thing off the special meeting agenda, I think it'd be worth it. Take a couple
Okay.
minutes here. So, Mr. Cameron, if you have, you should be able to share your screen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Scott Cameron. I'm a professional civil engineer and owner of the Moore and Cameron Group at 66 Elm Street in Danvers, Massachusetts. And I can be relatively brief with this. We did receive the comments letter following our last hearing from Bill Renault, and the primary focus of our efforts in that letter were to fine tune the drainage. And the big comment in there that took a little time to diagnose was a comment to restore stormwater runoff flow, which historically has passed through the property, but over the decades has kind of been blocked off, to restore that back. And so that's what we did. We did a watershed study. We presented all this data to Bill, and what the result was, I think it was a positive thing, a very positive thing, which we hope to get out of these reviews. We were able to engineer a dedicated drainage pipe system from the properties. You can see, just to zoom out a little bit, these are the properties to the west, flowing through and around the building to the east. There's no drainage in the street, in the Hunt Street in this area, so everything in this neighborhood flows through a common drainage system, kind of through the backyards of the properties, and these continue on. I discussed that at the last meeting. We did add in a small additional detention system. So this is basically just to buffer the flow a little bit, because we added a few acres of offsite land that will be able to run through this property if the water does get there. So this is just to mitigate that a little bit. So it's providing some treatment and mitigation, and then it would continue to use this existing drainage line. So I don't think there's been overland flow into this property from offsite for a long time. But this will in effect restore that. We did get a letter back just a short while ago from Mr. Renault and his team, and I do appreciate the quick turnaround on that. I read through it. There's still some open items which relate to water, sewer, things which are on the construction side. And there are a couple of minor things related to just clarifying detail elevations as just some minor cleanup things. But it appears that there wasn't any major contention with the new calculations we submitted. So I hope when we go through these processes, when we get all these engineers looking at it, we end up with a better design by the end of this process. And once again, I think we've achieved that. So I'm happy to answer any of the questions about it. That was really the only substantive change to the plans that you saw before, was the addition of this drainage infrastructure.
Yeah, so we can go over you got the DPW memo from around 5 o'clock today. We obviously don't expect to talk about that.
Yep.
As it's fresh. I don't think the board members haven't really had a chance to take a look at that either. So that'll be on the agenda for the next meeting as well. And should give you time to respond to any open comments, and hopefully meet with with Bill and his team between now and then. So, any questions or comments from the board? Hearing seen none. Anything else, Mr. Panos?
Pardon me, I had to unmute. No, that pretty much sums up where we're at. I mean, there's been a lot of behind the scenes movement, which we're pleased with, and we are still waiting to meet with Bill Renault, not me personally, but certainly our engineering team. And we will certainly come back with more details on the lighting plan that you've requested. All good questions and comments. And of course, traffic, where we'll be prepared, and I will confirm with Scott Thornton on the special meeting date, but we'll be prepared to respond to the memo, the fresh memo that just came out this morning.
Right, so, yeah, I'm trying to build that around the availability, the special meeting date around the availability of TAC. So, I appreciate any cooperation we can get on that, so we can get all the experts
Sure.
in one.
Are you still waiting just for clarification for confirmation from anyone from TAC on that date, or they?
That we can do it the 3rd.
Okay. Very good. I'll get right back to you then.
Yep, an email tomorrow would be appreciated.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, board members?
Well, procedurally, timeline wise, where do we go? I mean, normally we'd continue, but our next meeting is regularly scheduled for the 10th, right?
No, it's the 11th, and
I
that's
mean, the
the,
11th, excuse me.
it's the
And
same
that's,
date as the 11th. We might
That's
have to
why
have
we're
two
having
special.
a special meeting.
Yep, I'm not gonna wait to the 11th for the vote. If there's a blackout, there's too many things that can happen that are beyond our control. So we gotta figure out. We're gonna have to either wrap it up at the special meeting. The applicant has stated, they're reticent to extend it for 180 days, so we're gonna have to work around that.
but what are we continuing tonight? We don't know that the 3rd is
If-
going to work, definitely. So
if-
where do we continue
It
this
has
meeting?
to work.
If I may, I would just suggest a continuance to the 3rd.
Right,
And if it
Yep.
doesn't work for some reason, we'll provide public notice accordingly.
I'll let you know as soon as possible, but we'll make every effort to make the 3rd work. And for purposes of tonight's meeting, I would recommend your continuance run through the 3rd so you don't have any public notice issues.
think that's the best we can do, Dave.
Okay, I just was
So you
curious.
can take a vote tonight too.
So at this point, our next
I
step
gotta-
is to continue to September 3rd.
I
And
gotta
try to
open
put-
it up to the public first, but yeah,
Okay,
when we're done with public comment, we're gonna want.
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
if there are members of the public here that would like to comment on this application, please confine your comments to what was presented tonight. We're gonna talk about traffic, hopefully on September 3rd. So if you have comments on the lighting plan or what Mr. Cameron presented, otherwise, I think I know where most of the neighbors stand. We've had a lot of meetings on this. But so if you are interested in commenting on what was presented tonight, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Paula Gardella.
10 Wilson Road. I just want to say again and again, this is a residential neighborhood. We're not an industrial park. We're not a city. We're not Boston. This building does not belong here. I'm extremely concerned about the light spillage. That's it.
Thank you, Paula. Bronwyn Delavope.
Good evening, Brown Delavolpe, 8 Cyrus Street. I agree wholeheartedly with the previous speaker. Also, as you know, I'm a big advocate for appropriate lighting and dark skies compliance, which needs to be emphasized in this particular instance. Blocking light on one side of a light fixture is usually not enough. There should be no uplighting whatsoever on any outdoor light. There's going to be light spill from this site, which is completely unacceptable, and I challenge the engineers and the developers to fix that right away. It's not just the height of the poles, the height of the lights, it's the color hue, and it's the intensity, but mostly it is where the light falls. When you're talking about light pollution, which is of course a very real thing, the notion is you put light where you need it, when you need it, and only where and when you need it. It doesn't have to be on all night. In fact, there's a tremendous fallacy when it comes to light pollution that more is better. That is actually not the case. The studies over the decades have found that brighter light creates a glare and shadows where people who maybe not wanting to be doing legal things often lurk and hide. And so don't think that more is better in this regard. And I would like to see more details on the lighting plan. And I would like to see part of the lighting plan. I don't know if it's available right now, but I would like to see the actual fixtures. I would like to see renderings of what the lights and the fixtures look like, and not just a bird's eye view of the light trespass. I would like to see a person on the ground sightline views of where that light is shedding, what the hue is, what the intensity is. And that's a real lighting plan. And I don't think, I haven't been on every meeting, but I don't think we've seen that so far. So everyone thinks, lighting is sort of the tail end of a development. It is enormously important, not just for people and not just for safety, but for animals and even plants. And it's more than just, oh, I can't see the stars. It's so much more than that. And it is not given the gravity that it deserves. So I'd like to see more on this in tremendous more detail at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Victoria Turner?
Hi, Victoria Turner, 16 Wilson Road. Obviously, I agree with what's been said. My question is more towards the board, but yet again, I am sitting here listening to a presentation that is incomplete, that lacks information. I just don't understand how this group is able to force a decision when time and time again, they have used delay tactics, they have come unprepared, they have come without the appropriate people. And I guess I'm asking the board, is there any recourse? Because I don't understand how they can show up unprepared every single time and treat us this way without us having any options. That's my question.
We can only ask them to present on certain items what they come in with. You know, you heard of the board's comments. We wanted to see more. We're asking for more.
Oh, I appreciate the board.
You know, Victoria, as you've heard, the board has been very frustrated throughout this whole process as well. We share your frustration. So that's about all I have. So thank you again for coming tonight. Allison Jana.
Hi, Carl Jane at 21 Hot Street. I was, in regarding to the lighting, the surrounding neighbors will suffer the most. I mean, they're pretty much robbed of a natural evening around the house. 15 to 18-foot poles outside your window. If your kids are in bed with lighting around there, how does that stop that? You know, the lighting plan that shows was obviously incomplete with not the, you've asked for the renderings around it. So what is it, where does the light, worst case scenario, what do those numbers go up to when all the balcony lights are on and all the other poles that are lit up as well? Where does that show up?
Mr. Bosco, for the next time, I think that reflects something that one of the board members said. With all the lights on and the street lights on, what does that look like? We'd like to see that.
Also,
Will do.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Carl.
I have a question in regards, there's a chain of command all the time, and I think this was asked, but I'm not sure if it's ever been answered. The top of this chain is obviously the builder, the developer, and it always seems like there's questions to be had, but there's never a developer here. Wouldn't he be the guy that would be point man and be able to give answers for things that we keep coming back for constantly? Why doesn't he ever show up? And is there a comparison where he's done a project of this scale that we could say, oh yeah, we can compare all these items to what's going on here now? And if you want, you know, you can just check that out. Has that ever been answered? Or has he ever shown up?
No,
Or the developer, it is a he.
no. The ownership group has not attended a single meeting to my knowledge.
That seems to be a
We have,
problem.
Carl, we have asked, and for whatever reason, they don't come.
Ignorance?
I'm not one to speculate.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there anybody else? Teresa Melton? Teresa, you have your hand up. If you could unmute, if you wanted to say something.
Sorry, old people.
No, no problem.
Is the lighting from the cars entering the facility included in the light study? The way the cars come in, if they shine on the houses, things of that nature. You know, you're talking what, 100, 200 cars?
No, that was not included in the lighting plan. It's not generally something it is.
Well, you know, so depending on how they pull in, will reflect on the houses that are next to it. You know, if anybody has lived in around a big apartment building, you know, cars come in and out 24 hours a day. You
No,
know,
that's why the board has asked them to sketch in where the abutting properties are so we can see the impacts.
do they have any shields that are gonna shield these houses from the lighting?
Well, they did talk.
Any trees?
Isn't there fencing going to be around the property to a certain degree?
6 foot fence wrapping the site, yeah.
Right, so that'll offer some protection for that automobile kind of level stuff.
A little.
You know, that's my question. I do have a question on the drainage. The Mill River runs behind it. We're up on Stock Ave. We're at risk of flooding if that Mill River is overflowing. If the added drainage goes into the Mill River, which goes down behind Nant Street, how will that affect the upstream water?
I think Mr. Cameron's here, can answer that question for you. He's the development team's engineer.
Sure can. Yeah, thank you for the question. So the way we engineered the stormwater management system, it protects against any issues that you just raised. So what did we do? On site, there's a tremendous amount of storing of the water. So there are large tanks that when the stormwater comes onto the land, or as I mentioned, from off-site land onto the property, we hold it on the property and we infiltrate that water back into the ground slowly. That's one of the techniques that is focused on in stormwater management. They've actually increased the requirements for us recently to store and recharge more water into the ground than we have ever before. So in that, we end up reducing the volume of water that exits the property. So that's one thing. And then we also look at the rate or the flow, which is a measurement of basically volume over time and how that flows through the property and what exits the property. And we also and flow really is where you get a lot of your flooding in a like a very intense quick rainfall. It's the flow that you'll get that will cause the flooding because that inundates all your pipes and your catch basins. So we're also required to mitigate the flow. So we're doing both of those things with the on-site systems. And then finally, with modern stormwater management systems that you don't see in a lot of older infrastructure because it didn't exist 50 years ago or 100 years ago when a lot of this was put into place. But newer systems, we clean up the stormwater as well. So we remove sediment. The sediment is laden with pollutants, and that is held on site in containment systems. And there's an operation and maintenance plan in place to clean that out. So those sediments also taking that out of the water, the sediments as they pass through, talking like winter sanding activities, and then you get a rainfall in the spring, all that sediment washes through the pipes, all that ends up in your streams, and that can plug up the streams too and cause flooding. So we're taking that out of the stormwater. So you have relatively clean water that's exiting property that's being held on and put into the ground. So there's a lot of things that are put in place, and that's what the town's engineer reviewed with our technical package. So there's a lot of I like to use the word robust or redundant systems in place to ensure that we don't cause any downstream flooding as a result of changing, altering the land.
Yeah, I'm not looking for
Mr.
downstream,
Mr.
downstream flooding.
Mr.
I'm
Melton?
looking at
Yeah,
upstream
just-
flooding.
Mr. Melton?
Yes,
So I think Mr. Cameron gave a pretty good explanation, but you should be assured that the town civil engineers work very closely. We don't just leave it up to Mr. Cameron to decide this for himself. There's a strong review by the town subject matter experts on this. So they wouldn't allow that. And you've heard us reference the memos back and forth between the development team and the DPW. That's exactly what they're talking about. So our town's employees are on top of this and are working with Mr. Cameron to ensure that there's no upstream flooding as well.
No, been flooded. Okay.
thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Chair, if I could interject very briefly, and I don't want to cut into anyone's time. I've confirmed with all of our team members that we will be available on September 3rd.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Person, I see your hand up. Mr. Person, did you want to say something? You're off mute. I can see that. And I see your hand up. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'll come back to you if your hand is still up. Next hand up I see is Julie Scott.
Hi, Julie Scott, Central Street. After I'm done, I've seen Mr. Joseph Conway's hand is being physically held up, so maybe you could call on him next.
Okay.
I'm concerned when I envisioned this project that it's going to be lit up like a shopping center. I'm very concerned about what I'm hearing about the lighting. The whole thing is a completely poor design. The unprofessional presentation tonight again was a disappointment. Not enough information. As far as the drainage goes, I played in that area as a child. I know how wet that is, and anybody who's lived in Wakefield over the past 15 years knows that close by Bennett Street has had some flooding that has made the Boston news and the national news. It's all the same wetlands area. Nahant Street happens to cross it. The slow infiltration with the New England weather, with the ground freezing and then thawing and freezing and then thawing, and a machine technology is supposed to understand New England weather, releasing water when the ground will be frozen, is just something that seems to me unworkable. Just wanted to share that. Again, I watch these meetings sometimes live, often on tape, and I have yet to see a professionally done presentation. I do appreciate the work of the town board so much. Thank you. It must be very frustrating for you. Thank you for all you do for the town. And like I said, I think Mr. Conway would like to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Conway, sorry, didn't see your hand there.
Yeah, thank you. Going back to the lighting for a minute, I saw the sketch wasn't very visible to us out here and on the computers to really see it up close, but in the southeast corner of the proposed parking area, it appears to me that there would be a lighting fixture, 15 or 18-foot pole in that corner, and another one, a couple more on the easterly side of the building, and particularly the one in the southeast corner of the building, if it's 18 feet, is directly behind my house. Okay, and currently with the existing old machine shop building there's a utility pole, wooden utility pole with a spotlight there currently. And it's getting dark right now. If you'd like to come down here, as it gets a little darker, come out into my backyard, the lighting from that spotlight that faces the rear of that property now comes into my yard quite a bit. I'm deeply concerned by putting a 15-foot or an 18-foot pole or two. I see two, but one right at the actual corner of the southeast corner. I see a real problem there that my yard could light up during the evening like Fenway Park, like the green, my yard near the Green Monster. So I have a real problem with that. The other thing, another speaker brought up from Stark Avenue was the cars circling the parking lot, entering, and whether they're coming from around the building, either side of the building. If you look at any of the site pictures, you'll see a stockade fence to the southeast portion of the property in question. That stockade fence is mine. That happens to be currently an 8-foot cedar fence, wooden fence. When the trucks and vehicles that are out there now are moving around day and night, the lights from those trucks and vehicles come through my fence. And that happens 7 days a week at night, different times of the night. But to add 200 cars, say, into a parking lot, circling a parking lot, or some of those cars in the parking lot, if I see that in the diagram as being correct, facing my house, they're gonna shine into my property as well as the lights coming down from the poles. So I got a problem with that. I heard at one point, there again, the drawings that they've shown, the vague drawings, that between my stockade fence, they're gonna put a retaining wall. I've heard it was gonna be 2 feet high, 3 feet high. I never heard of a fence being there, a 6-foot fence. Is that gonna help shield the lighting from the cars from my house? Are they gonna put light shields, deflectors, visors on those overhead poles to shield the light from coming into my yard, so I don't have to have my yard lit up like Fenway Park 24/7? I have a problem with that. The drainage. I heard about the drainage, that they intend to put drainage boxes in part of the back end of the building on the southwest side of the building. I got a problem with that too. Everybody says, well, we got room, we're gonna have a retention area for the water to hold it. There's ledge there. There's a lot of blue ledge there. They said they did a few test holes out there. I question the amount of the water retention boxes that they can put in there for drainage. I question the amount they can get in there without having to do some serious blasting or drilling there. Then again, my last comment is going back to the southeast corner of the property. And they say they're going to put these drainage boxes in there. That's going to take care of that problem. But we've got to talk about snow. We haven't had snow, measurable amount of snow for the last 2 or 3 years. We're going to get it at some point, let's face it. And when they pile that snow up in the back of the parking lot, it has to go someplace. Where's it going to go? It's probably going to go down behind the property on the Stock Ave side, down to the brook that goes between 16 and 14 Wilson Road. There's a pipe that goes down. It comes, with the previous speaker said, from Stock Ave. It comes down through the back of the property and it goes between the Wilson Road properties. And I still think it's going to flood that area, back up like it has backed up Stock Avenue over the years. They had a problem there years ago. Is it going to reoccur? We haven't been convinced of that as of yet. Those are my comments for tonight.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring that up with Mr. Renault, your concern about the snow. And Mr. Bossa, you've heard a couple of comments about the cars. If you can, at the next meeting, when you bring back, can you show the elevation changes from where Mr. Conway's house in that southeast corner is and where the 6-foot fence is going to be, so that they can understand when the cars are circulating on site, what protections are in place from the light spillover from that? That would be appreciated.
Yeah, we can do a blow-up plan.
Okay. Next up, I see Marie Oliveria.
Hi,
Marie?
Marie Olivera, 216 Nahan Street. I apologize for my lack of knowledge, but I have a question about the drainage. So is there going to be some management of that over time? And who's going to come in when problems arise? Does it become a town issue or a property owner issue?
I can send a note to Mr. Renault on that and get that answered for you. So we'll have it for the next meeting.
That's great. And then my last question, the fact that this needs to be done and sounds pretty convoluted to me, is that an indication that this site doesn't lend itself whatsoever to a building like this? And I guess what I'm really saying is if this building was built somewhere else in town, without being on wetland and all, is this a drainage complicated system that needs to be set up? I don't know
I
if
don't
I've.
believe it is. I don't believe it's overly complicated.
Okay, so this isn't unusual in terms of
No.
dealing with drainage.
No, we see this all the time, the retention tanks.
Okay.
And again,
Okay.
that's where our town does a really good job of reviewing what's happening on the site and with drainage.
Okay, great. And thank you for the board, to the board for all you folks do. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
I still see another hand up. Did they already speak, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair?
Paula Gardella. Yeah, she spoke first.
Oh, okay, sorry, we just didn't pull her hand down. Okay, she didn't.
All right. Nope, for public comment going once, going twice. Okay, we'll close public comment for the evening. Back to the board.
So, Mr. Chair, sounds like we're ready for a motion to continue this matter to our September 3rd special meeting.
Yep. And for the folks that were here that thought we're gonna hear traffic is on the agenda for that night. We've been waiting for it, and we'll take it up on the 3rd.
And it's a
As well
special
as the
meeting ahead of our
DPW stuff.
regularly scheduled meeting, again, if they join late, because we've been
Right.
admitting folks here. So they may have missed that up front, Mr. Chair, so.
Okay. So on September 3rd, the ZBA is gonna hold a special meeting. It's gonna include traffic, and it's gonna include some more DPW comments on the drainage and on all the site, site.
But Tom, when you say it's primarily gonna be traffic,
Yes,
I mean, the other stuff is just kind of housekeeping issues.
right, well, if you read that memo, I don't consider them all housekeeping, but I know we just got the memo, so a lot of folks didn't get a chance to read it, but. for
Yeah, I
me,
haven't
there's-
read it yet.
Anyway, so with that,
Motion's been made, Mr. Chair.
waiting for a second.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes,
Mickey,
Yes,
and
Tom, does the public have access to that letter?
yes, I vote yes to close it out. It's continued, but I will see what we can do about getting it on the town's website.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun there.
All right, Mr. Panos, we will see you on the 3rd.
Thanks. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, moving on to the next item is case 2420 32 Nahan Street LLC. I believe Mr. Silverstein was going to represent, there he is. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Jonathan Silverstein for the applicant. My office is in Concord. With me this evening, I believe, are Andrew Jones and Peter Sandorsi from Phoenix Architects, Chris Sparagus, who's the project engineer, Scott Green, the applicant, and we were going to have Scott Thornton from BAI with us this evening, but based upon your notice, Mr. Chair, earlier this afternoon, and was discussed previously, he's not with us this evening, but I will take Mr. Panos' statement that he's available on the 3rd as an indication that he would be available for this project on the 3rd as well, anticipating your question.
Right, we would expect this project team to be back on the 3rd as well.
That's what I assumed. So, so knowing that traffic is off the table for this evening, I know that there was a memo from DPW that we received today. I believe that Chris Sparagus can speak to that memo, though of course he hasn't had time to prepare any sort of written response to it. My initial take in reviewing it is that just about everything contained in that memo is something that could be dealt with through a condition, rather than anything that would hold up a decision on the case. But I'll turn it over to Chris to...
Sorry to interrupt you, but before you do that,
of course,
again, that memo was just out of 5. This board hasn't had a chance to see it, so I really don't want to get into today's memo. If you recall, at the last meeting, the DPW had a comment about some updates that Mr. Sparagus had to make to the site plan, I believe. And I don't want to cover what's in the new memo because our board's not ready to discuss that either. That will be on the agenda again with traffic for September 3rd. So I know there's not a lot to talk about then on this, but Mr. Sparagus, if you've made any changes based on the memo that we shared with you at the last meeting, let's try to check a few things off so we're not overloading September 3rd.
Sure. Even more important, Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, Chris Sparagus, civil engineer with offices at the Engineering and Survey Office of Williams and Sparagus in Middleton. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So the last time we were together discussing the project, we had talked about a few civil engineering items and the board had questions about them. And so I think that's important to just kind of review those because there were certain things that the board wanted us to see changed on the plans, and we made those changes since the last time we got together. So with your permission, I'll share my screen real quick.
Please do.
Okay, so the plan that you see before you is our layout plan. It shows primarily parking and building shapes, but it also shows the position of the proposed transformer. And what we've done is we've moved the transformer pad to the very back corner. This is the north arrow here. So this would be the northwest corner of the parking lot. This is the area out of the way that the members thought would be the best option. You may recall we talked about this as a possibility, this island, and even out front. And the thought was, let's get it as far away from everything as possible. And so it fits in there very nicely with what Wakefield Gas and Light likes to see for bollards. And it's actually even, it has some more separation because this is our dedicated parking and delivery space here. So it kind of fits in there nicely.
Really?
The other thing that we did
No, thank you.
After having received some more feedback on the
Something?
curbing on the project is that we upgraded all of our curbing from bituminous berm to concrete curb, and that's throughout the site. The board also asked us to just confirm that our light fixtures have light cutoff at the locations that we've placed them, and our lighting plan does a good job of providing that light cutoff that the board was looking for. And I was able to confirm that the pole-mounted lights, that we've proposed do in fact cut light off behind the light fixture. The light fixtures are pole-mounted at 1, 2, 3, 4 locations. We don't need a lot of fixtures to light up our parking lot, and you can see the shape of these light contours. This is a 1-foot candle light contour, and this is a 0.5. And you can see 0.3s and 0.5s extending into the parking lot here. And then we quickly go to 0.1 and 0 along the property line here, because behind the fixture, the cutoff inside the lamp allows that the light to be cut off as it heads from the light fixture behind the light fixture. And you can see that in all of the locations. So those are the changes to the site plan since our last meeting. I know, Mr. Chairman, that you said that you didn't want to discuss the updated memo from DPW, but some of those items that that you mentioned that Mr. Renault spoke to are in that memo. Would you like me to go over them, or?
No, I want board members to have the opportunity to read first.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just talk in general terms that that the memo has mostly conditions that will result in me having to add a few notes to the plans. But the drainage design, that sort of stuff, we've got green lights on all that stuff. There's just a few details that that their office would like us to add to the plan. So we feel that our site plan is in pretty good shape. So that's the end of my presentation then for tonight. But I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Chris,
Thank you.
what are the height of your poles?
So our pole mounting height is 15 feet.
15, okay.
I heard what you guys were talking about earlier.
Good enough. Thanks for having that at your tip. You knew that was coming.
Is it on the plan? Does it actually say that? And do we know the fixtures? So
The fixture.
in the
Yes,
bottom left, yeah.
yes. We have a luminaire schedule
Think
on
it's
our
up
lighting
there.
plan. And in the luminaire schedule, it talks about the type
15
of
foot mighty, yeah.
mounting
And
height.
3000 K.
That's right.
That's pretty soft.
Yeah, we have one of the gentlemen, one of our professional engineers in the office. He's kind of taken on lighting as a personal thing that he likes to do, and you can't imagine how many variables there are when it comes to lighting. It's very complicated. We have a nice software program that we use that we can analyze lights and place them appropriately, so that it's not just about providing that 0.3 to 0.5. You also want it to be pleasing to the eye, and so that it's not choppy when you're looking through the parking lot. There are these factors that we can calculate with the software that allows us to balance the light so that it really looks uniform. There's a uniformity ratio, things like that, and there's a lot that goes into it.
Let me see your hand up.
Do you have are you gonna have any lights over the doors, especially where the handicap parking is? Because I see it's going down to almost 0.1 where the person is getting off the car and going into the building.
Yes, the answer is yes, absolutely. We rarely put those details on the plan. These are small wall packs for just over the doors for safe egress. We can certainly add them to the plan. They don't shed a lot of light. It's probably not gonna change the light values too much. But yes, each one of the entrances is gonna have its own small light right above it.
And then on the main entrance, you're gonna have like decorative fixtures, or?
So that's a good question. I'm going to write that one down, and I'll get together with the folks from Phoenix and the owner just to make sure whether or not they have anything planned. I don't think we do, but if we do, I'll be sure to add them to the plan for the next meeting.
Okay.
We show two, Chris, Andrew from Phoenix Architects. We show two sconces at the front entry to the left and right of the door. So
Okay. And then you're gonna have any like a pass light where the walkway is on the front door, towards the front door?
We didn't think that would be necessary along the front of the building. There is some ambient light from the Haunt Street itself through some of the street lights, so we didn't think it would be necessary.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Oh, Mr. Chair, just that, all the lights being proposed should be on the spec sheet, right? The sconces and everything else. And ideally, yes, they'd be on the plan, even if they didn't add much to the spill, to the photometric plan, but we'd want to see it all. We potentially want to know everything we're possibly getting. As always.
Andrew, if you could add those, both the sconces out front and the light, the specs on the light fixtures that you're gonna have over the doors.
Absolutely. We show on the architectural packet, but we'll make sure that we coordinate with Chris and get it all shown on this plan as well.
Okay, anybody else from the board? Chris, if you could stop sharing, so it'll make it easier for when I go to public comment.
Thank you.
Is there a member of the public that would like to comment on what was presented tonight? Please raise your hand. Karen McMaster.
Hi, Karen McMaster, 25 Nahant. It's not the lighting I have a question of. I think multiple times I've asked. The dumpster is there. It's gonna be a dumpster pulling in and out of there. I'd like to know if that dumpster is gonna have to back into the property for the next meeting, or are they going in and turning around? I just want to know how it's gonna flow. Because the way it looks to me that they're not gonna go straight in to empty the dumpster, they're supposed to back in. So I'd like to know how that's gonna work.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can quickly answer that one.
Please do.
I'm going to share my screen one more time. So the way we designed the location of the trash and recycling is right in the back of the property here. The doors open left and right. And so the vehicle that'll come in can come in straight ahead. So it's a front loader. They scoop up, there are two containers. They scoop up the recycling, they scoop up the municipal solid waste, and it goes up and over the top of the machine. And then once they're done doing what they're doing, they simply back up in a quick 3-point turn, and then they drive out face first.
Okay, and the property manager will make sure that that's instructed on that's how they're supposed to do their pickup of trash.
So through you, Mr. Chair, again, the type of dumpster that and the company that we're going to contract with will be a front loading type of setup.
No, I understand that, but they're going to know that they're automatically going to pull in straight. I understand that. I've seen how those work, but they're going to definitely do that 3-point turn to go out every time, to go out front.
So, so yes, we'll make sure that that the management company makes that very clear.
Okay. Okay, I'm good for now until next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else? Kayla McKay Smith, I see your hand up.
Hello, Kyla McKay Smith, 40 Nahant Street. I am an abutter to this proposed project. And this is not necessarily directly on the things that were presented tonight, although I was pleased to hear that the proposed lighting will not be flooding the neighbors. I did want to comment about the context, which was presented at the previous meeting, and all the heights of the surrounding buildings. Our house just to the right is one of the tallest on that side of the street at 32 feet, and the proposed building being even taller than that, closer to the street than the existing buildings, and only 10 feet from the lot line on the right. And then there's our driveway, and then there's our house. And the entire width of this building is 2 to 3 times the width of any of the other buildings on the street. And then it continues further back. Also that the front elevation shows this beautiful spread of trees behind it. And many of those trees are within the confines of the lot and will therefore be taken down. I know that there are some trees in the town wetlands behind, but I believe that most of them, including 4 trees that are in the like 1 foot to even bigger diameter are proposed to be completely gone. I know that this board has expressed concerns about the amount of open space or the complete lack thereof. The 2 current lots have about 1/3 to a half coverage of paving, driveway, and houses, and this proposal is to cover basically the entire lot. And I believe the board asked the development team to come up with some answers to the concerns presented by the board and the public about the lack of open space and the size of the project, and there was absolutely nothing. So thank you to the board, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Dana?
Would you like me to respond to that, Mr. Chair?
I'm gonna address that at the end of the public comment. Carl, did you want to speak?
Hi, this is actually Allison Jane at 21 Hart Street. I
Yep.
was just wondering, I thought most public comments were done. I'm just wondering about
Allison, you cut out there?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can now.
I'm wondering about a proposed timeline, like where do we stand and where do we go from here? There's been some on this project, the other project as well. I know I'll be commenting on that one, but like what happens next? What are our next steps here?
We'll talk about that right at the end of public comments, so I will get into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Public comment going once, twice. Close public comment for the evening.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry, would it be helpful? I know there was a question from a board member about the lighting fixtures, and as Mr. Jones indicated, they are included in the materials list in the architectural materials. Would it be helpful for you to look at those if either he or I put them up now? Is that something you'd be interested in?
No, I think we can do that on our own. And
Okay.
if we have questions or concerns, it can be brought up at the next meeting. So this one's a little bit, your project, Mr. Silverstein's a little bit further along in terms of it's had its traffic review. You had the memo from the Traffic Advisory Committee. We all know what that says. I saw that you put the response in. Is there any consideration for changing the project based on the TAC memo?
I think, Mr. Chair, at this point, it's been reduced in density by 25%, and it's not viable to reduce it anymore.
Okay. So next steps, we have a hearing on September 3rd. We'll expect the development team at that hearing. The 180 days expires on September 11th. So we got to see what kind of progress we make on September 3rd. But again, I'm not going to wait till September 11th to take a vote on this project. It's too risky to wait to that last day in case something happens. So we'll plow through as much as we can on the 3rd, and we have to do another special meeting. We'll have to do another special meeting. So we'll stay in touch on that, Mr. Silverstein. But our intent is to go through the DPW and the traffic with a major focus on the TAC notice memo on the 3rd. Board members, anything else or comments or that you'd like to add?
I think you've said it all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, I'll look for a motion to continue to September 3rd.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this matter to our September 3rd hearing.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion here? Seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. So we will see, gentlemen, we will see you on the 3rd.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is Case 2450 G&T Main Street LLC, located at 340 to 340A Main Street, Wakefield.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail on behalf of the applicant, G&T Main Street LLC. With me tonight is Gus Stefanzo, who is the principal of G&T Main Street LLC, and Dominic Valente, who is the project architect. To refresh the board's memory, this is, and I'll share my screen to orient you to the area again. This application deals with 340-340A Main Street, which is situated right next to Wakefield Cooperative Bank in the heart of downtown Wakefield. This property was subject to a horrific fire about a year ago in May, a catastrophic fire that totaled the building in essence. And what we're proposing to do is reconstruct the building. As you're aware from our prior meeting, it's currently a commercial use on the first floor with 2 residential units above. That's what we want to rebuild pursuant to the bylaw. In a little bit of a different format. This was kind of an older building. It looked residential and kind of, I think at some point got converted to commercial on the first floor. I can say it because it's been burnt down, not the most attractive building. So my client wants to reconstruct with the same density, but a different form. And we are operating under section 190-53 of our bylaw, which is restoration after fire, which reads that any non-conforming structure may be restored and used regardless of the estimated restoration cost, provided that the new or restored structure is not substantially more non-conforming than the former structure. And I would suggest that this is not, we presented at the last meeting and the board asked us to make some changes, which we have, and I'll get into those. But from a procedural perspective, we presented to the town building inspector that we had a right to rebuild this. He did not disagree, but as he has in the past with these fires, like he did with the church fire, he refers these to the board to make that determination of not substantially more non-conforming. So when we were at the last meeting, we had presented some architectural plans. Our new town planner had made some comments in that regard to our plans. And you might recall that our original proposed structure was a flat roof building rather than this A-frame, which kind of doesn't go with what's happening downtown. And we had proposed to have stucco on the entire building. Windows were not really aligned in sync. So the town planner wrote a memo to the board, and I'll read it in part. And what she said was the proposed structure, while varying from the original structure, is in keeping with the overall character of the area. I believe that some minor changes will further solidify that intent. The windows on the second and third floor will be benefited to have consistent spacing versus their current asymmetry, in keeping with traditional design. The buildings were, the windows were kind of offset with each other. She goes on to state, I would also consider making the entire front facade brick or brick veneer and keeping brick off the side elevation, or changing the corners to a material consistent with exterior material underneath, making it smaller or removing it entirely from the structure. Lastly, I would consider adding a sign band in keeping with the signage overlay district. And basically, so those were her suggestions. And we had a direction from the board to try to work with her in order to accomplish those goals. I believe we did that. I corresponded with Samantha, and I shared the plans that we submitted to your board last week in preparation for this meeting. And she's just, I think, I'll read you an email or share an email that she sent me today that I think she's pleased with what we've done. So if I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to share the plans that we submitted last week in consideration of the comments by the board and by the town planner.
Please do.
Okay.
Brian, Mr. McGrail, do you know whether we got a copy of the letter from the town planner that said she was happy with your approach, or are we just taking your word for it?
You're gonna see an email from her that she sent to me today.
You'll forward that to us?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it with you tonight.
Are we on it as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it with you and then forward.
I didn't, Chip, I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'll share it.
So we should have it sent to Gail as well for the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to her about doing that. Yep.
Okay. So this is what we've done. I'm gonna focus on, if you recall, we had proposed a stucco building all around with some brick highlights. Pursuant to the town planner's recommendation, we're gonna keep the side stucco with the brick highlights in the rear, but we now have changed the front of the building to all brick. These windows were not in sync, if you will. They were kind of offset. They weren't centered. They didn't match, and that's what she had suggested. So what we've done is we've gone all brick. I also dropped some samples off at the building department of the brick. It's a real high quality brick, and Dom that can talk about that. Dom and Gus are on here, and they actually went to the brickyard to pick out the brick in the stucco. But we're showing an entire brick facade and actually a built-in sign band that the town planner talked about. One of the comments that the town planner had, which I'll share with you, her only constructive criticism was she thought that this sign band should be extended for the width of the building over the doors and the glass, instead of just having a small sign band in this area. The board asked us to do an elevation, and we did that, and we submitted it, and I'm going to share that now. And Dom he drafts everything by hand. He's a traditional architect, if you will, so he doesn't work with the software program. So I think he did a really good job with this, to the best of his ability, to give the board an idea of what this is going to look like. So we bring that up. When it got scanned, it got a little bit crooked. So the whole downtown's not crooked. That's just the way this came in. But this gives you a good idea how this is going to fit in with the other buildings. The alleyway is not changing. The footprint of the building is not changing. And basically, that's it. What he is proposing that doesn't show on the plans that we submitted on this side of the building with the alley, he wants to put some windows in there to kind of open it up a little bit so people aren't looking at a blank wall when they're coming from the lakeside if they peek in there. So that will be one slight change. And this is what the town planner had talked about as far as her suggestion of extending the sign band, the width of the building. So I'm going to, if I may, Mr. Chair, share the correspondence from the town planner.
Yeah, please do.
I corresponded with her because you had directed me to, if you recall, you had said you should get together with the town planner in an effort to address her concerns, because I think your board thought that they were good. So this is her email correspondence to me. I'll read it. Brian, it's nice to hear my comments help your client think about the project in another way. It looks great, and I'm sure it will be a real asset to downtown to get the space online. I think the only suggestion I have remaining is that the sign band should be over the whole storefront space, meaning windows and doors, or the entire width of the building. So it could be fancy or simplistic. Here are a few photos of thought. Some use a slightly different pattern of bricks in an area for lighting that separates the storefront /sign from the residence above, or just a simple cut in the bricks to give a visual demarcation. The second photo with the white letter sign shows both patterns, both a pattern and a cut line to give a visual line for breaking up where the sign would go. Again, these changes are not required. The sign band is requested per the signage overlay. Please feel free to reach out with any other questions. So these were just some examples that the town planner, and this is how it's extended all the way. And these were just other samples. And I'll share this email correspondence that I had sent to her. I'll email that to you tonight, Mr. Chair. if I may, so that's my presentation. Dominic, do you have anything you want to add as far as the town planner's suggestion on extending the sign ban and demarcating it? Are you comfortable with that?
That would be fine, to change it, go the full width, and probably with the use of some brickwork, it'll stand out as the sign all the way.
And Dom, could you inform the board, is this gonna be a brick veneer that you picked out, or is it gonna be a full brick?
It's a standard brick.
So not a veneer, it's a full
Which
brick.
which is 2¼ by 8 inches by 4 inches. Standard brick.
Great. Do you have anything to add, Dom? Or you think I covered it pretty good?
No, I think
Okay.
I have no objections to what you
So
have.
with that said, Mr. Chair, we stand ready to answer any questions or entertain any comments from the board. And I'm happy to reshare my screen.
Just trying to get a better handle, Brian, on exactly what it is. What type of windows are you proposing? Color, size? I mean, I see the size. I don't need to know the inches, but are they double hung, black, white? What's your thoughts?
The double hung windows.
Bronzed aluminum? How are you
They
tying
will
the storefront into the windows above and all of that?
They will be residential style or office style, but not aluminum frames. There will be aluminum cladded wood windows, double hung.
What color?
What company?
What color?
I don't know. Oh, color? Probably in the brown, a brown instead of black, dark brown.
And what's the storefront made of? Your windows and doors there.
Okay, that would be typical storefront, which is aluminum frames, and I'm not too sure on the door whether we would have a wood door with glass in it or or an aluminum door with glass. I think the wooden door would make it look more like you're going into a restaurant rather than a retail store.
And
Some
the
folks
door
have
to
their
the-
hand. I'm
and the
sorry.
door to the right that looks like a steel door, what's that? Is that
The
the
entrance-
to the
that's-
apartment?
That's the door to the apartments, so leads you up to the apartments. It just would be, again, if I used wood doors, it would be a wood door with a little slot glass on going up and down, about 4 to 6 inches wide. I don't like having doors that swing out without a little glass in them because someone might be on the other side and you'll whack them. So I usually use my entrance doors on my projects. Always have a little glass in it with them, full piece of glass or a slit of glass, but enough. In this case, I just want enough to keep it private because it's going to the apartments, but yet it's a safety that I can see both ways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Brian, is there 2 apartments above it, and is that what's going back?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Also, I don't know, am I the only one that thinks the front of the building's a little boring? I feel like it needs a little more detail, but I don't know if we have any jurisdiction on that or not, but it just seems like a lot of brick and nothing really breaking it up, but I don't know. If I'm the only one, then I guess I'm fine with it, but seems a little.
Yeah,
Joe,
Chuck, yeah, that was gonna be my comment also. Just thoughts would be, just a suggestion was, yeah, the different pattern I think helps. But up at the parapet, either like an offsetting dark gray or black coping at the top, something that just kind of gives it a little bit of an offset from all the brick out front.
It feels tall and just like tall and narrow. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a hand drawing, it's superimposed on the sheet, but I don't know.
I mean, typically, on fronts like this, you'd have keyways above the windows.
Actually, this,
You'd have you'd have some sort of crown or elevated brick at the top. You know,
Yeah.
I do agree that the sign band should go across the whole front. Not that you can use it for signage, but it would help, again, break what you guys are talking. I'd even do a couple cornice lines above the window, you know, the details around the windows would help it not be boring. If you did traditional ways, that type of thing around the windows.
Maybe something in the corner too, going up, I don't know, on each corner, the left and the right. Sometimes they do a pattern there too.
Yeah.
the windows actually have a soldier course off the header, and it has a header sill. So there actually is detail at each window. That's a brick. It's not just a brick wall. There's headers at the sill, and you probably could see a little bit. This soldier course, that's brick standing up and down straight, and then headers are looking at the brick, the end of a brick, and then all the way to the top. And that's up there would be a couple of courses of headers and a couple of courses of soldier course, and to break up. And of course, if we do the sign band, it would end up on each end. We would get some detailed brick again. So it's not just a flat brick going up. It doesn't project out, but it changes. And it projects out an inch, which is minor, but it sort of just gives a little shadow. And at the very top, you have about 6 to 8 inches of metal work, which would be the top of your parapet. So we would actually introduce some metal to finish off the brick as it's going up, and would probably end up matching whatever the window, the metal work on the windows will have that same color for the top. And and the ground floor, which is more or less the curtain wall, one of them is the storefront. That's would be aluminum, but it would also match the windows, the frame. So we won't be introducing a lot of different colors. We'd be basically using the same brick, which happens to be a what they call was an old Boston type brick. It's more of a it's not the typical brand new bricks that we have today, which are fine. Any brick is really good, but no, there is some treatment around the windows and at the top at the corners.
I might also suggest breaking up the floors too, the second floor line, the third floor line, maybe.
You could put, we could put a course of either a course of, I would put a course of soldiers right across, right around. Yes, that's
just so it doesn't look so, so tall and like a missile. Just
Yeah, I think one of the problems, Joe, is that we're so used to seeing computer generated.
Yeah, that too.
A hand-drawn rendition is kind of bleeds, but I think this helps understand what's going around the windows and not quite as plain as you were thinking it might be.
Yeah, no, this pops it a little bit better, but now it's lacking the color, so it's almost like you got to bring the two together.
Yeah, but I do think the sign band, if you took it all the way to the edges of the doors, and like you said, if you did something on the corners, and to Greg's point, got that top of the band, it would help a whole lot.
All right, Kasumi, you had your hand up?
I was gonna suggest same as Joe and Greg, but maybe you can change the color of the brick from second floor up, so the first floor retail area kind of stands out from the rest of the building. But also I was looking at the elevation and just remind me, you have 2 units, so you're gonna have a mailbox on outside of the 3-6 door. I just want to make sure when somebody open the door, it won't hit the mailbox on the outside. Because I don't know, I don't remember seeing you have enough thickness of the wall between the door to the store side to recess the mailbox.
You have 12 inches, and within that 12 inches, we could put, the mailboxes would be.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure the door doesn't hit the mailbox.
No, they won't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dave, saw your hand up?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, sorry if I missed it, but is there a plan for like what's going on the roof and any vents and the restaurant, the cooking exhausts and things like, we've encountered this before and we just want to make sure we didn't do full site plan review on this, of course, but what we don't want to end up is something gets done nice and then stuff is attached to the side of the building to vent stuff up the top of the roof, right? So we'd like to know, is that stuff going to be done internally in the building and then brought up to the roof? I think might have been brought up in a previous meeting, like the roof plan, to see what's vented from the apartments,
Wow.
their bathrooms, their so forth, and their vents that are required, dryers, etc. And if they're going to have utilities like that, and what's the restaurant doing? So perhaps a roof plan and just understanding how that's all going to work.
Yeah, so we did submit floor plans, Dave, which are here. And you can see here, the intent is, we talked about this. So you'll notice that we have duct space in the units to bring everything up to the roof. See that right here?
Yep, I see it.
And there's a parapet on the roof, so no mechanicals will be seen, right, Brian?
Yeah, Dom, we talked about that. Can you talk about Dom, can you talk about the venting that Board Member Hatfield is asking about, and also the mechanicals that Mr. Tabell just talked about?
Mhm. All the mechanicals are on the roof. Nothing is exposed. And we have a large duct space to take care of a restaurant. If the tenant becomes a restaurant, Gus has not decided yet who's going to be there. So we designed it so that it could be retail space or it could be a restaurant, but we have a duct shaft, and that's what's important.
Okay.
No mechanicals visually seen from the sidewalk, let's put it that way.
And it's physically being built that if it is a restaurant use, which I think it will be, we had a conversation, the board didn't want to see big venting going up the side of the building, and that's why we put the ductwork.
No,
thank you for clarifying that. Yep.
The duct space is big enough to handle a restaurant.
And the residential units will vent through the roof as well, right?
That's correct, yeah. Of course, there would be heated with split systems, so the compressor will be on the roof and the handle would be within the apartment.
Okay, because the side elevations really didn't show anything coming on the sides of the building, so we just, again, want to make sure we know what we're getting and what's going to end up in the finished product, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Chip?
I'm just thinking about this project out loud and kind of the different teams that we've had and worked with, and this team obviously is a little different than we've worked in the past. So I'm thinking that there may be a little different way to handle this as well, because first of all, this is a blight to downtown. So I'd love to get it moving and start getting things, if they're going to get brick up before snow flies, they've got to start moving pretty quickly. I think there's still a lot of questions that we'd love to have answered, but maybe if we put a team or one person to work with them as they're building and as they're submitting construction drawings for permits and stuff like that, to review what they're doing, ask the questions, kind of like a working group, to make sure that I feel that this team is going to totally build a very good building. I think we just have a lot more questions than they're used to answering. So maybe if it's one or two people in a working group that they can come to and say, this is what we're doing, or this is the window we've picked, that can report back and kind of bring it through the construction process might be a way to handle this specific project. Just thinking out loud here, if that makes any sense to anybody.
It does to me, because I agree, you know, the fire was a tragedy, and this site needs to be renewed as soon as possible. And I want to do that, but I confess that I'm struggling with the material as well, trying to figure out, to Dave's point, we generally try to know what's getting built. So I think that's a good solution for me. I'd like to hear from other board members, and if there are any volunteers to serve on said committee, if that's the direction we're going to go.
Well, since I suggested it, I think I have to volunteer now.
I think Joe just put his hand up with you too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two of us could probably handle it.
Are you suggesting voting with conditions and then working with them offline to vet some of these things? Or because normally if we're going to vote on something, we're voting on a final set of plans, and maybe
we're not going
yeah.
to do that on this one. That's my suggestion. Is that
to Brian's point at the beginning, this is different, because to Brian's point at the beginning, I'm not even sure how much authority we have here.
Because it's a rebuild of a fire.
Right.
It's really just a standard of what we're proposing, whether it's substantially more detrimental to the building. I mean, with all due respect to the board and to the town, I think it's fortunate that we have such a great property owner. Because Gus really, you know, I mean, Gus can speak to this. Him and his wife are the owners of this. They really want to do a nice job. And we're happy to abide by Mr. Tabell's request. I mean, they're happy to work with a board member going along, because they're happy to take the input. They want to have something that's really nice at the end of the day. And and we're happy to take, you know, so we're not shunning that. But to your point, Mr. Chair, there's really not a lot of jurisdiction. It's not a site plan approval. It's, you know, I mean, many respects, if, you know, Gus could be coming here with a cinder block building and say, hey, this structure is not substantially more detrimental than the other one, and I've got a right to rebuild it. And that's what I'm going to do. But he doesn't want to do that. I mean, Gus, do you want to speak to that? What your intent here is, and what you really want to do with the town?
We want to work together. If you want to, you know, participate, we have no problem doing that. No problem at all. We want a nice building. It's our building. We're not going to sell it. We want to keep it. We want to make it look nice for Wakefield. We'll work with the board.
Well, Mr. Chair, at the end of the day, we're being asked to overturn a building inspector's decision, right? So if they've appealed to us, so party aggrieved, and we have to make a finding, I guess, that what they're proposing is not substantially more detrimental or, right, non-conforming, right?
I don't think
we need to make it that finding to move forward, right?
I don't think we're overturning a decision. He asked them to come in front of us to make the decision whether it's more detrimental or not.
No, you are overturning it, Chip. That's the way it works mechanically. There's just no other way. So we requested a building permit, and he denied it, and he said, you know, let me read his letter, because it kind of will highlight what the board's, which is part of our application, the denial letter. What he said is, please be advised, I've had an opportunity to review the plans you've submitted, the Hayes plan, which shows, by the way, that we're not changing the footprint of the building, and Valenti Architects plans, desire to reconstruct this building located at 348 Main Street that was destroyed by a catastrophic fire. You've requested I confirm that your client may obtain a building permit from this office to reconstruct the facility as depicted on the plans based upon, and I'm not going to read 19053 again. While it is my opinion that your position may have merit, I hereby deny your request for a building permit, and it is my preference to defer this matter to the Zoning Board of Appeals to make these determinations. Thus, you have a right to appeal this denial by filing an appeal with the zoning board, which is a mechanic. So
that's
in essence,
kind of backhanded denial.
It is a denial, yeah. So you would be overturning him
And we're saying what
and in
you're
doing
presenting.
so, and in doing so, finding that it's not substantially more detrimental.
And
So
I
I
think
think we
it's
can,
easy to find what's been presented to us tonight
And you know what
will
you could
not
do
be
is
more detrimental,
you could
particularly if we put a working group together to work with them to construct it.
so you could condition your determination that it's not substantially more detrimental as long as we cooperate with a board member on the materials and the windows and the final design.
yeah, Dave, there's a little belt and suspenders for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to do that. That's the clear intent here. But I would suggest that it respectfully suggest and request that it be one board member, because if it's two, it's gonna become cumbersome, because then it has to be, you gotta deal with, notice and this is stuff that we're gonna wanna move. One of the issues that Gus has here, and I dealt with this on the building on Chestnut Street that burned down, he's got time limits with his insurer. And this becomes a problem too, because what happens is, I've dealt with this, at a certain point, his insurance company is gonna say, you've got a certain amount of time to spend your money or you're gonna lose it.
No, I think it's the intent. I think you've heard the intent of the board is to move this along.
Yeah.
And it's in everybody's best interest. Chip, it sounds like you're a committee of one. I
Or
get it,
Joe could
because,
be a committee of one.
yeah. You guys could sort that out. We don't have to
Yeah,
do it right here at this meeting.
that there would be a committee of one.
Right.
But can't we vote on it tonight? Because
I'm
based
hoping
on
so.
tonight,
We can overturn it tonight and condition it with it's not substantially more detrimental, with the condition that there'll be an appointed board member. We don't have to name the board member in the decision.
Mhm.
Dave, you got all that?
Working it.
I'd be putting it to memory. He's typing it. All right, keep going, Tom.
Public
No, I
hearing.
think,
Do public.
that's it. Yeah.
Don't we have to have some public?
Yep. So
Maybe.
with that,
Help
is there any member of the public here that's wants to comment on this application or this decision that we're going to make? If so, please do use the raised hand function in Zoom. Hearing, seeing none. Public comment is closed. Pleasure of the board.
Almost there.
Okay.
Good luck on this one, Dave.
Mr. Chair, if I can, through you, real
Yep.
quick, just as a suggestion, Mr. Hatfield, something to the extent that an appointed, with the condition of that there'll be an appointed board member to work with the applicant on architectural details and materials, something to that extent. In determining the final architectural details.
Yeah.
Materials.
And to your point, Brian, if whoever it is can certainly ask questions of somebody else if they so chose to get some input as well.
Yeah.
Without being a formal member.
Okay.
I volunteer Joe for a lot of things, like building my house, like.
So we could refer to the architectural plans, even though they're dated, I see, July 31st.
Yeah, just.
Okay. Okay.
And we are just doing a finding, basically, I think.
Well, again, we're overturning it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but.
All right, so I will attempt to make a motion, Mr. Chair. I move that we vote to overturn the building inspector's decision for the property located at 340 Main Street and allow the applicant to proceed with the proposed changes on the site based on the board's finding pursuant to 190-53 that the project is not substantially more non-conforming than the former structure on the site. Based on the condition that a board member, Tarbell, will work with the applicant to determine the final architectural details.
and material.
materials.
Details in there.
Yep.
And that is
Second.
based on architectural plans that were presented tonight dated July 31st, 2024. That is my motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members. Dave,
Well, sure.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. So that is unanimous. Thank you. Best of luck. Looking
Thank
forward to
you.
you guys getting going and renewing that site.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Gus. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, on to new hearings. Case 25-2, Matthew Chambers, 5 Sylvan Avenue. Is there someone here for that? I see Mr. Chambers, but welcome, Mr. Chambers. I do want to bring up, though, before we get into this, I think there's a mistake with the application. And let me just get this out. Because it's an application for a variance under Article 6, Section 190-31C. I think that's a missite. I think you're actually looking for a variance from Table 2. I also think, I'm pretty sure that the lot is non-conforming, so that you would need a finding as well. So if 190-31 does talk about yard requirements for all districts, but it's just a requirement that says where side yard or rear yard is adjacent to a street, the side or rear yard requirement shall be the same as the distance specified for front yard setback unless specifically accepted herein. But what we're really thinking is I think it should come off, it's a variance from Table 2. And again, that I think the lot's non-conforming, so you need a finding on that as well. Mr. Chambers, were you represented by counsel putting this together?
No, I was not. Just I submitted the application myself.
Okay. Mickey, Dave, Chip, anybody? That's my opinion on this. I don't think we can move forward. As much as I don't see anything crazy here, we have to get the decision right, and we have to rule on the right relief.
Correct. And Mr. Chair, I read it the same way you do. Certainly that there needs to be a finding regarding the nonconformity and the continuation of that, which was not asked for. And I'd leave it to lawyers to figure out the other side, but I read it the same way you did.
Vicky, did you have an opinion on this?
I have the same as Chips, but I agree, and I wouldn't want to give a vote on an incorrect application. That doesn't, I mean, I think he's getting feedback here as to what he should come back with next time.
So if I may ask a clarifying question, the reason I cited to 190-31C is that sets the setback requirements. It says for a side yard abutting a street should be the same as the front yard, and that's really what we need the variance for. The proposed addition would fall within the table of dimensional regulations inside that 10-foot setback for a general residence. However, when you read it in conjunction with 31C, it makes it a 15-foot setback, which is why I cited to that. But I can adjust the application as needed to add the table of dimensional regulations.
And some of the reason for that is the notice that goes out, right? That it would be an incorrect notice.
So be improperly before the board.
So, Mr. Chair, again, if it was just the incorrect paragraph, but it was still a variance, I think we could proceed and just make the appropriate determination. Because we've done that before where somebody but if they applied for the wrong thing, a variance for a special permit, or didn't apply for everything, I agree, we cannot proceed, right?
They didn't apply for the nonconformity.
Correct. So just to his point.
That's my problem. We just needed to adjust it a little bit. But there are two prongs that didn't get cut,
Right. If it was just the incorrect paragraph, I think we could have moved this forward and opened it up, but I think they need to reapply for the finding and then we open it up at that time. So I totally agree with that. Yes.
And Mr. Chambers, I strongly suggest, and it's just a suggestion, that you have an attorney look at it. Because you can't just take our advice or the advice of someone in the building department, because that would be inappropriate, and if we were wrong, we would be so this is our opinion right now. But before you refile, you heard what I had to say. Because like I said, I don't see anything crazy here, but we got to get the relief right.
Understood.
So with that, I'm going to suggest that Mr. Chambers is asking for to withdraw this application without prejudice. And that would be the appropriate motion.
And just so Mr. Chambers knows, that without prejudice means you can come right back.
Yes, understood.
Okay.
Versus continuing an unopened hearing. And just.
Yeah.
He's got to
adding-
change, he's got to change, we got to renotice.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
notice has to be proper, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw this application without prejudice at this time.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Look forward to seeing you in the future, Mr. Chambers.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next case, 25-3, 25-4, 25-5, 33 Water Street LLC, located at 33 West Water Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGraw representing 33 West Water Street LLC, for the property situated at that address. And with me tonight, I'd like to introduce the principals, Marvin St. Jean and Immaculate Dennis, who are on with us tonight. There's Marvin, and I think Immaculate's here somewhere also. And our team consists of John Ogren from Hayes Engineering, who's our site civil, and the folks at Phoenix Architects, Peter Sandors and Andrew Jones, will be taking the lead on this. I think I'm going to make an initial introduction. This is our first meeting. This is 3 applications. We're seeking a multifamily garden apartment, and I'll get into the details on that. This is our first presentation, so if I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to give the board an introduction and then have John Ogren give you a brief overview of the site civil, and then Andrew will give you a brief overview of the architecture without getting into all the details, which I'm sure we will at future meetings.
Yep, that sounds fun.
Great. So I guess on the Zoom, I'd like to start by bringing you to the site to familiarize yourself. So when John deals with the site plan, you know what you're dealing with. So this is the intersection of North Avenue and West Water. As you can see, that's the train station. And this is where the Maggiore building was built at 175 North Ave. So as you head down West Water, it's property we're looking at 33 is right at the beginning. It's a church building. In the proposal, as you will see, and Andrew and John will get into, is to raise this building, this commercial building across the street. And it's really right across the street from the Maggiore building. But this will orient you on where it is. So it's really at the beginning of West Water, right near the intersection of North Avenue. I also want to note that we have submitted a traffic impact assessment for this project with our application. We are already on the agenda for the Traffic Advisory Committee in September, so we'll be going before them on this. There's currently a mixed use of the property. There's a church use with 1 residential unit also in the upstairs of the building. I've had an opportunity to speak with one of the direct abutters in detail today. And interestingly, he's, and he'll speak, he can't make it tonight, but he'll speak at a future meeting. He's very happy with this project because he thinks it's gonna be less density. He said actually the church gets a lot of use and causes a lot of parking problems, especially on the weekends and some night events that they have. But he will be here to speak or correspond with the board in the future. This is the perfect location for this project. Walking distance to the train, literally walking distance, right around the corner from the train station, as you saw. This property is located entirely in the business district and surrounded by business district, so it does not abut any residential district whatsoever. What we're proposing is 11 units. There are 5 one-bedroom units in this building and 6 two-bedrooms, so a total of 11. This board might remember that this property was brought before you back in 2019. My client had it under agreement to sell to somebody who wanted to do a project, and they had filed an application for 20 units. I did not represent that party. When that application, my client really didn't have anything to do with that application. They had it under agreement for a developer that wanted to develop the property. Unbeknownst to my client, when they applied for a 20-unit project, which doesn't work on this site. And the board at that time abruptly notified them of it, and they withdrew their application. When you do the calculation on this, the density only allows for a maximum of 13 units. And they had tried to do 20. You might recall that your board educated them and they withdrew it. So with 13 are allowed, we're proposing 11. We think that's what fits nicely on the site. As I mentioned, out of those 11, 5 of them are one-bedroom units. I think you'll see that what we're proposing is a tasteful design when Andrew shows you this proposed building. It's a 3-story building, and that includes the parking. So the parking is on the first level and then only 2 stories above. The building is only 34.5 feet high. So you look at like the Maggiore building across. We're really trying to fit this in because there is some residential component to this street, even though it's zoned entirely business. And we're trying to really stay with that theme, and Phoenix focused on that. As far as the parking goes, it comes out to 16.5 required. We're proposing 16. We're anticipating working with the board on limitations like we did on the 10 Broadway, and work with, visitor designation, et cetera, as this proceeds. And I'd also like to point out that there is correspondence, and I'm not going to speak for anybody, but I think there's a pretty positive letter on the project from the town planner as far as where it's located and how it fits into the envisioned program in Wakefield. And the board has that in its record. So with that setup, if I may, I'm going to hand it over to John. John, do you want to share your screen, or would you like me to bring up your plan? You're on mute.
Thank you. John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. I'd like to share my screen.
Good.
That show up for everyone?
Yes.
So yeah, just to kind of orientate yourself a little more, as Brian said, the train station is over in this area. We got North Ave, West Water Street, Main Street. So it basically resides between North Ave and Main Street. The locust parcel is here. It's located on the northerly side of West Water. Basically surrounded by developed properties all around. As far as the existing conditions, there is an existing building. It's about just over 2,500 square feet footprint. There's parking located to the east of the building. Currently has parking for 13 vehicles. The entrance itself is located on the east side of the property. I should mention too that the lot itself, the area of the lot is 9,880 square feet. So as far as what's being proposed, very similar layout to what's existing, but there are some changes. Entrance is still located on the easterly side of the property. There's some surface parking outside, but we're also including component of some parking under the building, garage parking in majority of this first floor, and then there is some entrance and amenities in the front, and one unit resides on this first floor. There is a slight increase in impervious area to the site based on kind of the larger footprint. This footprint is about 4,500 square feet. And in doing that, there's about 735 square feet additional impervious area. So to mitigate for that, we have included, if I can find it real quick. We've essentially proposed an infiltration system on site. We've already done test holes. They've been witnessed by the engineering department. So we should be all set from that standpoint. They're basically connected to the roof drains, and then eventually they'll connect to the drainage out on West Water. We did submit a stormwater management report, and in that report, it shows that we would, with that infiltration system, we would be reducing the volume and the rate of runoff from this site. And as Brian said, we did submit a traffic report that looked at essentially the vehicle trip generations. We didn't specifically look at it as the church. Most of the peak hours you look at it during the daytime, the midweek. So we just looked at that in comparison, and we are showing an increase in the daily trips, total daily trips of 18 trips. We have actually a decrease in the morning of 3 trips and 1 vehicle increase in the PM peak hour. In terms of total, just to give you a feel for it, total daily trips is we're showing that it would be 56 in the existing, and proposed it would be 74 vehicle trips. That's just kind of a quick overview of what we're proposing. I do want to point out too that as far as existing, I should point this out, is existing vegetation on the site. We go back to the existing, there are some areas that essentially landscaped, but probably more importantly, there is a row of trees that exist along the easterly lot property line, and you can see in the proposed, we're not proposing to remove any of those trees. Those are essentially going to remain.
Okay, board members, any questions, comments?
I mean, my first comment, Mr. Chair, is that on all these projects, I think minimally we need to meet the parking requirement. And more importantly, we probably need to meet the parking requirement, and our preference would be also to have a couple visitor spaces as well. So my first thought, without even seeing the architecturals, is the way to do that is go from 11 to 9 units. So I was going to just hold my comments till after the architectural, but I did want to just, because we had talked about the numbers of parking and needing parking, and that would be my comment on parking.
Okay. The project is going before TAC too, so there'll be a traffic study. So we can, that'll be looked at there as well. Anybody else? Dave?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just, again, when you see the before and after, again, they're losing green space. Yes, infiltration system will take care of the increase in impervious areas, but again, the lack of green space, right? So there's a spot in the upper corner. I don't know if there's a thought about what could happen up there in terms of outdoor usage by the tenants. You know, but it's just, again, we're losing green space, right? It looked like the church, I've never been there or looked in their backyard, but it looked from the drawings that they had a backyard, some area back there for outdoor socializing and a little bit of frontage, and we're kind of losing most of that. So again, even though it's smaller than the one we saw a few years ago, it's still filling up that part of the site. And I do look at the abutting neighbors, right? And now they're seeing 3-foot story building with windows as high as they are. But again, it's just a mass. It's a big rectangle for those abutters behind and to the left. So just, again, sharing concerns about massing, even though it's smaller than the one we saw years ago. Still, it's not a big site. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Can we proceed with the architecture, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Brian. Good evening, board members and Mr. Chair. My name is Andrew Jones, representing Phoenix Architects. Give me one moment. I will pull up the screen. Can you guys see the cover page?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I will jump to a front graphic that we are doing. So as Brian had stated, we are 11 units total, 5 one-bedroom units, 6 two-bedroom units. It's a 3-story building, most of the first story being just the lobby, 1 unit, and mostly parking. As you can see here, this is the overlay of the inside parking, similar to the site plan had shown. As you can see, when you come in from the parking, this is the covered parking area. This is the outdoor parking spot. We got 1 stairwell to the right, bottom right-hand corner. We're showing where the trash and dumpster location is, which would be inside the building and be concealed. And then as you come around, you'll see one of the entrance doors into the lobby area. So we're showing utility area. We're showing one of the 1-bedroom units, which is also the ADA unit right off of the first floor lobby. And then as you come towards the front from West Water Street, you'll see the lobby with a row of mail boxes for each of the tenants and another stairwell. I will go up to the second floor. On the second floor, it's repeated second and third. So 5 units total, 2 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms. You'll start to see the layout is, a typical open concept layout for these apartments. So this is a 2-bedroom, which is, the 2 bedrooms are roughly 700 to 750 square feet. And the 1-bedrooms are more like 550 to 600. But as you can see here, 2 bedrooms, open concept, living, kitchen, and then bathroom. Each of the units got their own washer and dryer. As you can see towards the front, we are showing for these 2 units, they're gonna have Juliet balconies looking out to West Water Street. But we intentionally in the back left them windows just as it abuts the residential backyard of the other neighbors. So 3rd floor, as I stated, it's exactly the same. And then as you can see, we are showing a roof plan. We're showing the stairwell go up to the roof. It's not for public access. It's just for maintenance and be able to repair the roof, condenser services, all that stuff. Here are a couple elevations without color on it. As you can see, these open spots are gonna be actually open to the parking lot behind. It does get covered right here where the stairwell is, but then once again opens up for the parking. So this is the right elevation coming into the parking area. left elevation, you'll see that we've done some strategies to break up the mass of it. We're showing a skirt wrap around the whole first floor with brackets that, you know, help break up that mass, and also doing strategic things like boxed up bays to really give it a look and make it feel fitting. And then as you can see up here, the access door up to the upper level. So one thing we take pride in is the materials we're using within this project. James Hardy siding, not a vinyl siding. We're also using a Marvin Elevate series windows. We're doing a bronze. We're trying to give it a historic feel and context. And as you can see, once again, breaking up the mass, we're doing a thin veneer around the bottom, a brick veneer. And then once again, some architectural detail items like the brackets, corner boards. And really what we're trying to do too here is with this tower, the stairwell tower, I think it kind of relates to an old church feel, steeple. So we're kind of bringing its historic context from before and bring it into the design that you see now. So that's all I got. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone will have.
You go back to the front elevation, Andrew, so give a good look at that because it was kind of quick in color. You can blow that up just to give the board a look.
Yeah, I see your hand up, Joe.
Yeah, so I like the look of the building. I guess my question is no elevator, right? Because it's only 2 stories.
No elevator, correct.
Is that the reason you have apartment on the first floor for handicap ADA?
Absolutely, it is.
All right. So I was gonna say get rid of that, and that would get your spots. You'd only lose 1 unit, but then I think you're
adding an elevator.
You'll have to add an elevator.
Yeah,
So I think that's something.
We
something
talked
to think
about elevator, and you know the thought on that was we then you're dealing with the elevator shaft up top, Joe. Which the
Yeah,
look at
that's only, you could hide that. That's only 4 feet above. Usually roof level, it's above 4 feet. But yeah, I don't know. Just thought I just thought it was kind of strange to have 1 unit on the first floor, but then I was doing the thought process, and that was with the elevator didn't show up. That's what I was thinking. So other than that, I mean, I like the look of the building. The parking, I usually do bring up parking like Chip, but this is so close. There's a lot of 1 bedrooms, and it's so close to the T that I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about that. So that's my thoughts for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the
Anybody
maximum,
else?
just as a point of information, the maximum height on this is the same as the church, pretty much.
Say it again. The what?
The height of this building, except for the tower component, is the same as the church.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
the
it's
church
that
is
tall.
34 feet. Church is 34 feet tall. This is 34.5 feet.
What's the zoning on the height of this? Is it there? Is only 35 there?
Well, what it is with in the business district where this is, the maximum height is 60 feet.
Yeah, so you're not even close. Yeah.
No.
Okay, Kasumi?
Is there can you do let's see, can you do like the side elevation of the building, including the house on the Richardson Avenue? Because it like your building goes like right up on the property line, and then the house on the other side, on the back side of your property is like right there, and you have the whole nice wide open windows to the bedrooms and living rooms. Like I want to see how close the neighbor building is.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say, I don't know if John Ogren wants to bring it up and maybe give distance so you have a little bit better understanding of the building compared to the residential home behind it.
Andrew,
Does
you
it-
guys have done those context studies. I think what Kasumi is asking for
Okay,
is
yeah.
something similar.
yeah, because the house behind it looks like they have either egress there or like the patio on the backside, like right up against your building. Like I want to see how close that is. And then also your handicap unit, you have a lot of doors, doesn't have a push and pull requirement. You wanna take a look at that, especially like the entry door, the bedroom door.
Yep,
And then the kitchen, I think kitchen you'll need a wall oven.
got it. We can update that.
But yeah, I definitely want to see how close the house behind it to your building.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Chip?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we normally don't get into but if you look at the floor plans for the 2 bedrooms, I mean, the ability to get to the bathroom from the 2-bedroom, from the 2nd bedroom, I mean, you're going out into the living. These layouts don't make a lot of sense to me. I know it seems to me like we're just trying to fulfill the numbers. I mean, look where that bathroom location is compared to the bedrooms. I mean, if I've got guests over and somebody's in one of the bedrooms and needs to go to the bathroom, they've got to walk through the living room, by the kitchen, into the bathroom. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But we don't get into internal design a whole lot. But the other part would be just on the context study, you know, how is this abutting to all the neighbors? And I know it's about the same height that it was. I'd like to know what that is to our neighbors, and should it grow into on both sides a little bit, be a little less square. And I'm not sure if the tower, I get the tower being similar to what the church was or a church, but does that added height really help in this neighborhood or hurt? Just a thought to think about. Again, this is just an opening discussion, so those are my kind of thoughts.
Mickey?
Just so we have the full picture, I'd like to see along with Kasumi in contextual, the houses around there. I'd like to see a shadow study. I mean, if your feeling is that the Maggieri building blocks out all the light and you don't have to worry about it, but I don't know that that's the truth. What you're saying is the same height as the old building.
What?
Hello?
Everything okay?
Nadine, you need to mute.
It's the same height as the old building, but it doesn't have the same footprint. So it might have more of a shadow impact. And to Chip's point, does that tower, it looks great, but does it blot out the sun on somebody that doesn't need the sun blotted out? So if a shadow study is possible, I'd like to see that.
Well, let's get that answered. So Andrew, is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I gotta go back to the team, but we can definitely do the context study, and we can start to look at if it's possible to do a shadow study. But
Is that something that you would do or John Elgren would do?
so I have not done one. I don't know if John, if you could chime in if you have. Otherwise, we can look into the ability of doing it. Even
I have not done one.
Okay, so Mickey, we'll look into that. We don't have an answer, but we'll look into it.
Okay, just as a reasonable request. If it's unreasonable, that's what. But you know, I just wanted to see what it does to the people in back of it.
We'll do our best efforts to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave?
I'm just looking at the unit counts here. Is besides the one ADA, is one also potentially accessible? Is that the calculation here with potentially 11 units?
So one may need to have the ability to be converted, but it's been a while from what I look back on. All we need to fulfill was one ADA unit, and being able to put on the first floor allowed us to clear up some space and not need the elevator. So
No, did I misspeak? I meant affordable, like our 18%.
Two are affordable, Dave.
Two. Okay.
Two.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
My math was wrong. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, because
So-
let me just make sure, because we got 11, so it's 18%.
I might have said accessible, but I meant affordable.
Yeah, so it's-
Gotcha there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's getting
You
late.
have to round
Yeah,
up.
two affordable units. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the board?
If I can I share my screen,
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
then John, if you wanted to enlighten us on something, go ahead.
I want to show the board, and I know we're gonna do a context plan, but just for information purposes tonight, to kind of give you an idea what's going on behind it. This will at least give you an idea of what's on the other side. Whoops, lost that. So there's a church building right now. And we'll give you that heights, but this is a pretty high building that we're backing up to.
Yeah, heights and distance per Kissimmee
Yep.
Junction.
Yep, but that kind of gives you an idea what's happening. But we know exactly what you want, and we'll do that.
Okay, thank you. John, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, I just wanted to address a couple of comments. One deals with the parking. I understand where the board is coming from. I just wanted to point out that on West Water Street, there is no parking allowed on the south side, which is the Maggiore side, but there is 2-hour parking allowed on the properties side of the street. So in terms of visitors or deliveries or any of that type of stuff, there's certainly an ability for someone to park there for a short period of time. In terms of context, I can give you more detail, but just on this plan, we do show the abutting properties. So you can kind of get an idea as to the proximity to them.
Yeah, it'd be good to have actual distances though.
Understood.
Yep.
One more thing, excuse me, Mr. Chair. Is there a way to put like the church inside of it? If you know what I'm getting at, like, does it get wider? Is it the same footprint for the building?
No.
Okay.
If you show the before
I
and
know
after,
you want to superimpose the
Yes.
the
Just-
church with the new
Yes.
building.
Yes.
those before and after sheets he showed.
I have it in there. Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Is that your presentation for tonight, Mr. McGrail?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I did get some correspondence from town departments. Some of them lengthy. First one's from DPW. They just have a lot of boilerplate comments about, general comments, water, drainage, public right of way, drainage reports, and they confirming that it is going before the traffic advisory committee, and that they would be looking for a traffic mitigation payment. There's a letter from Provisional Chief Purcell. This is a lengthy one. Most of it has to do with code, fire code and building code. So rather than go through the, 8 pages of that, Brian will be looking to make sure that you guys have a response to all those letters. The one letter I will read is from the town planner. Okay, from Samantha Elliott, dated August 5th. Upon review of the sites, noted that the structure is located in a higher density area between North Ave and Main Street. The site is over 50% covered with impervious materials, is currently zoned business, which permits the proposed use by special permit. In reviewing the proposed use through the lens of the Vision 2030 plan, it is clear that the proposed use is in keeping with the number of the vision items goals. Vision 2030 aimed to bolster the town through the objective goals that we stated here. Protect and enhance beautiful natural landscape, neighborhood character, signature, open space, including Lake Corner Power, welcomes and supports residents in different life stages, inviting to people of all backgrounds, enhances its neighborhoods and housing options for all, safe walking and biking amenities, improves its business districts with more services, leisure, retail, job opportunities, and pedestrian amenities, expand social, civil, cultural landscape, and create more placemaking amenities and more festive events, invest in legacy civic projects, and reduce car dependency. The proposed use meets several of these goals. The proposed use is aiming to develop consistent with the existing higher density in the neighborhood. There are also existing garden apartment buildings in the immediate area. The proposed use meets goal number 2, which was the welcome and sports residence goal, supporting various stages of life with multi-unit walkable housing. The use improves the existing neighborhood district by offering more housing variety and pedestrian amenities to the area, as it can be accessed without requiring a car for the surrounding area. It meets another goal by offering a service that does not require the use of a car and can support those who commute via public transports. So that's from the town planner, and the conservation agent does not apply to them. So Gail, I'll work with you just to distribute the DPW and the fire memo to board members. But like I said, a lot of that's just the DPW is boilerplate stuff that we see all the time, and the fire was a lot of code that really doesn't apply to what we do. So anything else, members of the board, before I open up to public comment? Okay, seeing none. If there are members of the public that are here that would like to comment on this application, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Please understand that this is the first of what will be many meetings on this. We usually cover each individual element of a project like this, such as architecture, landscaping and lighting, site civil, traffic. We take those on one at a time and work our way through the project to see if we can to see where we end up. So if you can limit your comments to the general overview that we saw tonight, if you have specific comments about some of those other things, you'll be able to attend a future meeting and talk about those as well. First up, I see is Tiana, and I can't get that last name.
That's okay. Thank you. Tiana Veldwish. I'm on West Water, a couple houses down and on the other side of the street. Generally, I like the look of this, certainly better than the one we saw several years ago, and the size and density is an improvement over the prior proposal. I had a couple of small questions, mostly coming from a sustainability lens, which is something that's really important to me. In the architecture on the first floor in the parking, is there space for bike parking? As was mentioned in the planning director's comments, being this close to the downtown and the train makes it a much more accessible space for folks who are going to take public transit, but may also bike around town. So it'd be great to know if there's space for bike storage. Additionally, I would love to know if there's space for recycling dumpsters in addition to trash dumpsters. We've heard from many residents in multifamily units that buildings are built with space for a trash dumpster and no recycling space, and that prevents them from recycling in the future. So it'd be great to know that that's being accounted for in the footprint on that first floor area. Thank you so much.
Andrew or Brian, can you answer those questions?
Andrew.
Yeah, I can definitely. I'm gonna pull up the plan again. So we are showing, as far as the dumpster goes, we are showing 1 2-yard dumpster and also 1 2-yard recycling. So we do show both of those hidden underneath the garage. I'm starting to see right now the ability to potentially start to look at some bike storage on this left-hand side right here. I think that's a really good idea. And I think we have some space for it. So in the next round, we'll look at adding some bike storage in this vicinity right here, which I think would be a great amenity. So thank you.
Yeah, and to add to that, Andrew, I think, and John can point this out, or we also have a charging station for electric vehicle, right?
You
John.
can go to John on that one.
John.
We haven't, Yeah, we stated that one space would be AV capable.
Yeah. We haven't located it, but we're gonna have one space for EV.
Thank you.
You'll note that it's one of the fire chief's comments is about that, so. Next up is Nadine.
Okay, here we are.
If you could give me your name and address, please.
I'm 10 numbers right before 33. I'm 23. Been here for
Okay.
about, I don't know, 15 years. I do like what the facade had to show comparing to the building across the street. Particularly that the last floor across the street came in as a surprise. We never got a notification. And why I'm saying that? Because I cannot believe, although we have a lot of heavy winters, I would like to see the second floor to have a setback, particularly on the back with the other abutters. Walking down the street for me to get there on the train, the mass of that building across is, you can't even breathe comparing to what it was before. The gentleman that said reducing from 11 to 9, I think that's a good idea with reference to parking, but I'm curious, who gives the programmatic square footage per unit? Like a 2-bedroom these days is 700 square feet? What's the cost per square foot?
That's not really under our purview, Nadine.
Okay, well, I find those units, in order to squeeze 11, you have small units. When you consider fixing the elevation for the first floor to be where it is, but the second floor needs to have a setback, maybe a balcony. It's more community friendly. Another note is West Water faces south, directly south. Are there any provision for solar panels? Question. Another point that I want to make, I know in fact Fannie Mae gives low interest loans to developers to have a more green building. Has a developer look at for that? And maybe a potential of creating some green buildings. I mean, the Galvin went up, no solar on the Galvin. I don't know what the high school is doing, but I don't, it probably follows suit. Anyway, so to summarize, I found the unit small, 700 square feet. I haven't even, very myopic, so I have to see the plans in paper to see how it works out with the circulation. Solar panels was my other option because that front facade is facing south. And I'm not quite sure if an elevator will work, but if anyone, if the population is growing older, I predict that more older people will like to have it 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. So an elevator will be useful to predict the future. Lastly, I understand you put in the footprint where it is right now. Is that because you required it, or can you flip it? Can you put the building where the parking is and park the parking on the other side? It will give it more breathing room on the corner. I just have that problem with the building across the street. It really took my breath away every time I was walking down the train. That for now, and thank you for doing it in Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending. Anybody else?
How do I close this now?
I see a John Belial.
You shut off. Yes, I just have a comment.
Yep.
It's the
Can you
does
give me
the
your address, please,
applicant
John? John, can you give me
33
your address?
West Water Street LLC even exist legally? Because I looked them up in the Secretary of State and that entity was dissolved on December 30th, 2022? And if so, can they even be putting this forward at this time if they don't exist?
I can answer
Mr.
that.
McGregor?
Oh, I can't hear it now.
Hold on a second.
Oh, because I don't have sound on. Hello?
I've asked their attorney to answer the question.
I'm
Mr.
just checking,
McGregor.
I'm just, hold on.
He's just looking something up.
Yep, no problem. They'll probably see what we saw. Just needs
So,
needs to be.
John, can you just give me your address too for the record, please?
Oh, yes, 53 Cooper Street Extension, and also an owner of a unit at 175 North.
Yeah, so the answer is the record owner of the property is 33 West Water Street LLC. They
Right.
took it by deed, recorded at Middlesex South Registry of Deeds at book 71612, page 207 on 2018, September 13th. So they are a valid applicant. They can apply to be reinstated, which I'm sure they will, but it does not make them ineligible. They still are
Okay.
property owner of the property.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out because in case it became a problem. We're not opposed to the development. A little concerned about the parking just because there's a lot going on in that area with 175 North and the businesses there. And we see people in our building, looking for parking spaces periodically. But overall, we're not opposed to the idea of that being developed, but we did look up the entity just to see who was behind it and noticed that it was currently not an existing entity and needs to be reinstated.
Thanks for pointing that out, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to point it out. I know we have LLCs, we know how it works. They just need to get reinstated and pay the back fees.
We appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else, member of the public that wants to be heard on this? Going once, going twice. And public comment is closed for tonight. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna reopen it for one thing. I got an email. My apologies. So this is an email from a gentleman by the name of Robert Relihan, 37 West Water Street. I've owned a 3-family home at 37 Water Street since 2002. I'm unable to attend the Board of Appeals meeting on 8/14. I have 2 concerns: possible damage to foundation and walls of my home that was built in 1908 from drilling and digging and other construction activity involved with the project. Number 2, the mess that this demolition and construction will create, the dust and dirt in the air will definitely affect my house. It took me a year and a lot of money to clean up and restore my home after the condo development that was built at the end of Westwater several years ago. My windows, siding, and porches were covered in dirty grime. The siding was so bad I could not get it clean even after power washing and had to eventually find a special paint to put on the aluminum siding. If this project is allowed, there needs to be a stipulation that the builder will clean up the mess on an ongoing basis to the satisfaction of nearby homeowners. Perhaps money is set aside that can be utilized for cleanup and possible structural damage. If possible, the town could deny the occupancy permit if the builder does not comply. Regards, Robert Relihan. So enter that in as well. Now, public comment is closed. Back to the board.
I assume we're going to continue, Mr. Chair, to the next meeting. Ryan?
Brian, are you going to be ready to go with the presentation on?
I think so. We have a month. So yeah, I think we would. It's just a matter of what my assumption is for the next meeting that we would want to, you'd want the context plan with the details on the setbacks and heights for discussion. And we can look at whether we can do a shadow study or not. We can either do that or report back on that. Mickey had pointed that out.
Thank you.
I think that's where we go on the architecture at this point. I don't think until you see that, you're really going to make any determination on suggestions on changing the building. Would you agree that that's kind of a place to start?
It is.
Yeah.
Unless based on what you heard from some members on the number of parking spaces that you decide that you're going to amend your project. Absent that, we'll be ready for the context study and shadow study.
Is that John and Andrew, you think you can do that within the next 3 or 4 weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this matter to our September 11th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip. Chip,
Mute.
Chip, you're mute.
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Matt is continued to September 11th. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. Next up,
Excuse me
case 25.
if I
case
may,
20
a question on the previous matter.
Maybe if you wait till the end, Mr. Chambers, we'll move
Okay.
along here.
I can wait till the end. Thank you.
Next case, 25, case 25-6, 25-7, located at 18 Cooper Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail representing the owners of 18 Cooper Street, Jesse Raposa and Nahea Brule, regarding applications for a variance under Article, let me just get my paper straight. Article 6, Table 2 of the zoning bylaw, from that pursuant to Article 10, Section 190-66, and also requesting a finding under Article 9, Section 190-50. This pertains to an addition to their single-family home at 18 Cooper Street. They're seeking to add an addition in the form of a single-story sunroom. And I'm going to start, if I may, as I usually do, by orienting you with it, where this property is before I bring up the site plan. So this is 18 Cooper Street. You can see it. And this is a unique property, has unique circumstances that I'll get into as we go. Nice single-family home. It's right at the Cooper Street Bridge. This is pretty unique because, and I want to point this out, you'll see it on the plan. This where the car is in essence a paper street. So it's recognized as a street by the town. Under the state law, the owners of 18 Cooper Street, my clients, own halfway across it, as do the neighbors. Everybody that abuts it has a right to use it if they want. It's very undeveloped. It's developed and basically used as a driveway by my clients, which they have a right to do because they have rights to use the whole thing because they abut it. And their garage is actually situated on it. So they have fee ownership in halfway across it. They have not calculated that for the purposes of their application today. And that's one of the unique circumstances that they're facing as I get into the details of the requirements of the variance. So you can see the house and you can kind of see this area. And I'm going to show you a rendering that they had done that gives you a good idea of where this addition is going to go and what it's going to look like. Okay. So just to show you this quickly, this kind of shows how it's just a one-story sunroom, orients to the garage. There's that paper street area, which I'll show you in an overhead shot in a minute. But there's nothing, it's not even a two-story addition, and there's virtually no neighbor impact. So with that said, I'm going to go to the site plan now. So this is Cooper Street, and this will highlight. So the paper street is LaSalle Street. And you'll notice that, the engineer referenced the 1/2 ownership in it, which for purposes of our zoning table, we have not taken it as credit. You can't, because the way you define lot in our bylaw, we're not allowed to use that to calculate our area or our frontage, and we have not done so. But that's kind of what one of the unique circumstances is here. They put a garage on there. It's been there for years when they bought the house, and, you know, nobody's made an issue of it. And it would be a legal non-conforming structure at this point anyways, and it's really not a point for this application in any event. So as I've noted, we've got two forms of relief that we're asking for. We're asking for relief from table 2 of the zoning bylaw as it pertains to this side setback. We're also asking for a finding under 190/50 because we have a non-conforming lot. It's only 55 feet of frontage, where in the single residence district, we need 100, and it's deficient in lot area with 4,830 square feet where 12,000 is needed. And again, that 4,830 does not take credit for the 1,788 of the right of way. So we've got two forms of relief, the variance and the finding. To kind of look at what the deficiencies are on the variance first, to go through our table, the minimum lot area is 12,000. As I mentioned, we're at 4,830. We're not changing that, but that's a legal nonconformity, pre-existing legal nonconformity. Lot width is not changing. Again, pre-existing nonconformity, which goes to our finding. Frontage, same thing. Front setback is not changing. The engineer put 26.2 here because he did it from the addition just to show that it's within what it already is at 12.9, which is the house. The minimum setback, 15 feet on the side. So as you look at this on the right-hand side, that's not changing, no addition. On the left-hand side, 15 feet is required. It's 12.6. So one would argue potentially that, well, if it's 12.6, it's already non-conforming, so you don't need a variance because you can extend it further under a finding, as you know. We can't do that because under our bylaw, decks are allowed to encroach with it 5 feet into the setback. So we can't tack on to that, and we've got to go from what the actual house is here, which the house actually complies at 15 feet in this area, which necessitates the need for the variance, because what we're doing is we're putting this 12 by 12 sunroom on, and now we're going to be 7 feet and 6.9 feet from this property line. So that's a requirement of the variance. One could argue, you had a case earlier that you discussed that under 190/31, we abut a street, and I don't think one could argue that this is not a street, because when you look at definition of street in our bylaw, what it says is a public thoroughfare which has been accepted for public use, an existing private thoroughfare in use, which has not been accepted, which, this is used by them, but not anybody else. But in any event, if you did look at it as a street, as you know, we would need the 20-foot setback. And, whether we're basing it on 15 or 20, we're asking to be within 6.9 feet of that property line. So that, those are, that kind of lays out the variance. We're looking for a side yard setback here, be it from either based on a front yard or the side yard. And then we are also looking for a finding, and I'll get into the details of the merits of both of those in a minute. Before I do that, I'd like to reference the fact that we have neighbor support on this. So this is a letter that's been signed by the folks at 16 and 20, which are our neighbors on both sides, in 19 Cooper Street, which is across the street from us, that they support. And I've submitted that to you today, Mr. Chair, for the record.
Yep, it's in the file, Gail. Put it right in.
Lastly, I thought it would be helpful to So this is just kind of an overhead. And it shows how LaSalle comes down and it's developed a little bit, but it stops before it gets to Mr. Repose's property and the neighboring property, and that's where this garage. So in my world, the legal world, and I'm sure Mickey has heard this, we call it a paper street. So what that means is it's on paper, but it's not built on the ground. And as I mentioned, the folks here at 16 have issued a letter of support. The folks here at 20 were kind enough to do the same, even though they have this, pretty expansive space between them. And also the folks right across the street have signed on for that support. So to get in a little bit on the merits. So as you know, there are certain standards for a variance. I think the unique circumstances on this property are the paper street where, where you have what's called the derelict fee statute, the ownership to the center line of the street, but we can't use it for setbacks. So there's certainly a unique circumstance here relating to the property. The hardship is because of that, they're not able to add on to this side unless they get a variance, even though they have expansive space and have an ownership in land beyond their property that they can't utilize. And as far as a detriment to the neighbors, you've got neighborhood support from anybody or anyone that could be affected by this, that they actually support it and have issued a correspondence to the board to that effect. So I think there is the standard to issue a variance from the setback requirements under Table 2 of the bylaw. And then as far as the finding goes, I would, I think if you wanted, there's two things, as you know. The first is to determine if there's any intensification of an existing nonconformity. I don't think there is here because we're asking for a variance, so we're not relying on the finding to go further into the side yard because we're getting a variance for that. So I think you could find on the first prong that there is no intensification of a nonconformity. But I also think as a belt and suspenders, you could go to the second prong and find, and I would request that you find that it's certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood what's being proposed, notwithstanding all of the nonconformities of the lot that I pointed out, and especially considering the neighborhood support. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, before we get to the board, we did get correspondence from town departments. Fire department from Provisional Chief Purcell, no objection. From DPW, no applicable comments. It from Conservation Commission does not fall within their jurisdiction. From the town planner, she does not have any objection to the no objection to the addition as proposed, as it allows for the applicant to maintain the property with minimal impact to the abutters. That's from the town departments. Board members, questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr.
Dave?
Chair. Yeah. So, Brian, generally makes sense what you explained. At first, when I saw this, I was questioning the merits of a variance, basically creating your own hardship here by extending into the setbacks. But the explanation of the paper street helps clarify that in my mind. So I'm good with that. Our package included some architectural renderings. They were kind of hard to decipher, but they weren't authored or dated. Did the package we officially got have any other architectural information? You showed a sketch or something up front, but
yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. My client wanted, he drew those himself. He's gonna, this is, I've mentioned, I've submitted a rendering now, which really depicts what it's gonna look like. He really didn't want to invest into an architectural plan until he was sure that he was gonna get the relief. The footprint is locked in by the site plan. It's committed and can be conditioned in the decision that it's a 1-story, and because that's what we're doing. I would suggest for a simple addition like this by 12 by 12, those presented just as a footprint, but they could be relied on in conjunction with the site plan.
okay. Just wondering if this proceeds, that if there was anything specific we needed to reference as we typically do, besides the site plan. you know, in terms of when it was done and who was dating it. So it's in the decision that way, right? But we could potentially refer to architectural renderings as presented.
The point's well taken. I thought of that and I kind of knew it was going to come up, Mr. Hatfield. So,
you know us well. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you could just submit that rendering for the file too, Brian.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's all I had. I understand the merits of both requests here, so I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. At this point, I'm going to open it up to members of the public. If you're here to talk about, speak on this application, please use the raised hand function in Zoom. Elizabeth Collier.
Hi,
If you could give me your
my name is Elizabeth Collier. I live on 17 LaSalle Street. To give a little context about LaSalle Street, LaSalle Street consists of 4 different streets. You have a through LaSalle Street, which is off of Hanson Street. You have a dead end LaSalle Street, which is the right side of Hanson Street, not the left-hand side. You have the paper LaSalle Street, which is the one that you are referring to. And then the continuation of LaSalle Street, which is across the street of Cooper Street, which is half paved, half dirt road, depending on the abutters of that street and what they were willing to invest. The dead end LaSalle Street is a private way, and so is the one off of Cooper Street. There is a couple of concerns that I have, but I'm not opposed to the variance. It is just logistic concerns that I have. Cooper Street is a higher elevation than the LaSalle Street that is below it. So the house in question is about 30 feet above the LaSalle Street below it. So that the paper street goes into a hill that goes down. That's the reason why that section of LaSalle Street was never developed, because that is all ledge. And so the builders called it a day, called it LaSalle Street, but they did not build a through road through it because of that issue. Our street currently, in the last 2 years, has experienced serious flooding, a river running through it, because the water is coming down from the Cooper Street area. It is following the path of least resistance, and it is coming down that street, that hill, bringing debris down onto those houses down there, and the water is just going through. We have no drainage. We do not have, we don't have sewer grates in this section of LaSalle Street in which the water can flow. There's none around this area. So this part of Hanson Street, this part of LaSalle Street has no way of dispersing the water. And so my concern is, how is the water going to be drained off of his house? Because in the rendering that Mr. McGrail showed, it showed a flat property, and that is not correct. If you look at the Google map of it, Mr. Raposa's house is at least, I would say, a half a foot below Cooper Street, in that it's sloped down. So I'm concerned about where the water is going to go. I want to be sure that we understand that that is an access street for those of us. My neighbors walk through that area, that paper street, to go down the hill. If we do use that as walking in and out. It's when I was a kid, that was how we used to get to the Greenwood School. we cut through there and around instead of walking the tracks. Don't tell anybody that we used to do that, but that's what we used to do. So I want to be sure that we do not impact the people that are the abutters of that property below it with more water problems. That's my only concern. I think that the rendering that he submitted, a nice, beautiful sunroom, would look beautiful on that house. I remember the people who used to live there. It's a beautiful house, but that is my biggest concern.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other member of the public that would like to comment? Going once, going twice. And I'm going to close public comment. Mr. McGrail, I don't know if you want to address Ms. Collier.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but the engineering department, looked at and commented on this, and they, deal with some of these issues. And I can tell you that to hopefully give some comfort level, we are not, or my clients are not going to block that right away and not going to build on it. So that hopefully so anyone that, whatever people have been doing, this construction will not impact that. And that's not, I'm not saying that anybody has rights in that or doesn't have rights in that. I won't want to forgo anyone, even the people on the other side from someday saying nobody can go there, but that's a different issue for a different day. But this construction is not going to impact that, number one. And number two, this is going to be built, when you look at the elevation, I think what is being said is that this is kind of elevated up here. As you come down, I can kind of see the topography that was referenced because it's kind of steep. But this is going to be, we're not going to dig into a hillside. This 12 by 12 is really, that's a small addition, 12 by 12, and it's going to be in the flat area right here. So hopefully that alleviates some concerns. That's the best that I'm able to answer them. But again, it's not like this is going to inhibit we're not constructing within that paper street right-of-way area that we talked about. We're going to be 6.9 feet off of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Back to the board, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I will move that we grant a variance pursuant to section 190-66 of the bylaw from the requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 of the bylaw to the applicants based on the plans presented to us tonight. The plot plan from Edward Farrell dated July 25th, 2024, and the architectural renderings presented to us to allow a one-story sunroom addition onto the property at 18 Cooper Street. Owing to circumstances related to the topography and unique structure, circumstances with the paper street on this property, that a literal enforcement of the provisions of this chapter would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of this chapter.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip. Come back to him, Mickey.
Yeah, unmuted again, sorry.
Yep.
The unmute, yes.
Okay, yes. I
Sorry.
vote yes. Matt is unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a finding and determination pursuant to 190-50A of the bylaw that the proposed reconstruction, changes and alterations at 18 Cooper Street, based on the same plans noted in the previous motion, shall not increase the existing non-conforming nature of the said structure at 18 Cooper Street. But we also find, if one were to find that it should increase the nonconformities in some fashion, that we find that the proposed changes shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconformities to the neighborhood.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded, regular voting members. Any discussion first? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Mickey?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That is unanimous.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yep, on to the next one. Case 25-8, Michael Casoli, 957 to 959 Main Street, 979 to 983 Main Street, and 6 Greenwood Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Brian McGrail, representing Michael Casoli, trustee of the Mac Realty Trust and the Casoli Family Trust, and also representing Seven Continents Montessori School LLC, regarding 979, 980 to 983, 957 to 959 Main Street, and 6 Greenwood Street. This is known as the Greenwood Plaza, which this board is very familiar with. It's been before the board on a number of occasions. With me tonight on behalf of Seven Continents is Rocio Lobato, who is the principal. And she desires to open a daycare center in one of the units at the Greenwood Plaza, which I'll refer to it tonight for simplicity purposes. I guess I'll start that there's a tremendous need for daycare in this area. There's really no daycare within this general area. There's one in Melrose, and then you go downtown to where the new one that was just permitted. But there's she has studied this area, has found a tremendous need. The unit that she's looking to go into is a 1,300 square foot unit, which is it will be impeccable. It's going to be built out, brand new. All the bells and whistles for safety, et cetera. We know the fire department will make sure of that anyways. To give you an idea of how this fits in, I'd like to show you the approximate location of this unit. Well, I'm not going to bore you with it because I'm going to describe it at the time we bring it up. If you look at the facility, you know where Lapels is on the right-hand side, where Feng's was, way on the right-hand side of the plaza. It's the farthest unit to the right, which is almost kind of like on the side, way to the right. So it's really, really set off from a lot of the retail, from a lot of the other activities and restaurants that are going on in the plaza. She initially is only going to be the only employee there. She anticipates that she'll have a maximum of 3 employees because she's going to have between 10 and 25 children at any given time. This use really works out with the other uses in the plaza because the drop off and pickup are 7:30 to 8. And I talked to Mr. Casoli in this regard, and virtually nobody is open in the plaza at that time. He said usually the tea stop might have like one guy working on t-shirts at that time, but they're not open. Obviously, the restaurants are all closed, liquor stores closed, doctors' offices and the retail and service uses are not open either. So it really works out because it has a big parking lot. And then the way her pickup goes, it's spread out throughout the day. So she'll have some folks for half a day that they'll come and get their kids at 12:30. Some will come early for an early pickup at 3, and others come at 5:30. So it's really spread out. She's talked to the state about this location. As you know, she needs to get permitted for this through the state. That is a requirement. And she's talked about the necessity to, for physical activities for the kids. The reason she is going to be limited on the number of kids is there's really no place that's conducive outside. She talked to the state about Moulton Playground, too far away. So she's going to have a requirement to have an indoor play area, which she is going to build out as part of her facility, which is acceptable. I'd also like to note on this that there is town planner support on this, meeting the envision requirements, which is one of your memos. And what we're requesting is a special permit to allow the daycare center. And we're also, as part of this, looking to amend prior decisions of the board, as I've referenced in my application, because is some of the board members who have been here for a while will recall that Mr. Casoli's property is limited to different uses, restaurants, retail, warehouse, offices. And we actually came back for the same purpose, to put lapels in because dry cleaner was not allowed under his underlying special permit and modification decisions. So we're looking as part of this to modify those to allow for a daycare facility to be an allowed use in conjunction with the other uses that are at that property. Pretty straightforward application, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, before we go to board comments, I have received some correspondence from town departments. Might as well read those in. There's one from Provisional Chief Purcell talking about sprinkler equipment, carbon monoxide detection. If there was an outdoor play area, he just wanted to make sure that it was protected from all vehicular traffics. The main entrance needs to be clearly marked for rapid ID by first responders. Conservation Commission is not within their jurisdiction. DPW, just an I&I fee is their only comment. And to Mr. McGrail's point, we received a letter from Samantha Elliott, the town planner. The proposed use meets several goals of Vision Wakefield by supporting a wide range of what is currently being served in downtown neighborhood commercial district, aiding those who live and work in downtown Greenwood. The use improves the business district by offering a service that is not currently offered in the Greenwood downtown section, as well as adding additional job opportunities and pedestrian amenities to the area, as it can be accessed without requiring a car from the surrounding area. Meets another goal by offering a service that does not require the use of a car and can support those who commute via public transit in the area. While no site plans or signage plans will include the application, Planning Department would like to remind the applicant that a portion of the building is located with the signage overlay district may be subject to that criteria. Additionally, should the front window need to be shielded for privacy for the kids, the Planning Department asks that maintain visual appearance of a storefront through the utilization of privacy film or other interior reversible means. So that's what we have from our town departments. Now go to the board. Joe?
Yeah, Brian, can the daycare be that close to a liquor store?
Yeah, there's no prohibition on that, Joe. Yep.
There's no, just,
No. You know, one downtown is one, you know.
I know, I didn't even think about
There, and
that.
the one on Water Street, the permit has, in Wakefield, it's hard to get far away from a liquor store.
That's my other point too, but, all right, that's all, thanks.
Chip?
Yeah, I'm struggling with, Brian, the location of the front door and drop off and pickup. Is there good parking or parking lot in front of that front door?
Yeah, hang on, Chip. I apologize. I had this teed up and then I closed it. Just hang on a second. Let me,
And then I assume you'll
Okay,
come
this is
back
good.
for signage.
yeah, we'll deal with signage, either permitted or we'll come back on that. Yep, here you go. Did you see this? Not
Yeah.
yet? Oh, hold on, sorry. Okay. So this is the area way back here, Chip.
Was that the old gym?
It might be. I don't know, but it's far to the right. It's way off to the side, and you've got, you know, people pull in, they got plenty of parking over here. They're gonna be here at 7:30 in the morning. None of these other places are open.
Yeah, no, I just was trying to
I do think the tanning salon might be open. That's what Mike Casoli told me
That's-
today. Not sure.
But what the bar that we just approved, is that right next door or is Lapels in between?
Pels is in between.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to,
Yeah, see, here's the outdoor seating right here, and then you
Yeah.
got Pels.
okay.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to think, there's not a whole lot of storefront to think about shading, the comment on shading. I don't think there's a whole lot of windows there, are there?
No, not really. I don't know if there's, I don't know the detail of it. I mean, if we have to shade, we shade. I
Well,
mean,
no, that would be a
Yeah,
state requirement, not,
yeah. Kind of tucked, it's just, you know, it's kind of this unit is kind of behind this building.
right. I mean, I remember, didn't we fix this wall at one point?
Yeah, we redid the site
We
plan.
did this whole corner,
Back
right?
in like 2011, I think it was.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and that's where you did this wall and all of
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
okay. Thank you I just had to get my mind wrapped around where this was.
All right, Kasumi?
Brian, what was the square foot of the unit?
I can tell you.
1,300?
1,300?
1,300, yep.
Because I'm looking at the plan and there's like a mechanical closet. They would need a vestibule because you don't want to have the door open to the outside every time kids come and go. And then you would need one bathroom for the staff and one bathroom for the kids. And if you need to have indoor play area, I don't know, it's like 25 kids seems a lot of kids in that space.
Yeah, the state, what Rocio explained to me is that if you have to have an indoor play area, your ratio goes down to it's 75 square feet per kid or something like that. So they have a ratio, Kasumi, that you have to meet. So if she has to have an indoor play area, it's going to limit the number of kids that she can have pursuant to the state requirements.
Is there like a minimum square foot per kids for the indoor play area or?
Don't know. That will have to be worked out with the state because they will do the requirement in the inspection.
Okay,
And
and then
we're doing a complete build out, so whatever they require, we're going to be able to do.
okay, yeah, and then I think the windows on the side wall is looking at the parking lot on the back side of the breakfast place.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that window go all the way down or it's very high, but yeah.
Yeah. If I could ask you, Mr. Chair, Roxio, could you unmute and just talk about the windows where they orient? You got to unmute. Oh, she's probably having a hard time doing it. Roxio, can you hear me? If you're going to try to speak, you got to hit the unmute button on your.
Yeah, she might have walked away.
Yeah, she's probably having a hard time, but in any event, I mean, if we have to screen the windows, we will. But I don't think you're gonna have to where they're located, as Kasumi pointed out.
Okay, yeah, because so the behind that unit, now it's a martial art place now. So on the Greenwood Street side. So there like I see a lot of like adult come in and go like during the day and nighttime and like really late night. So I just want to make sure that when that windows is like nicely screened, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what the town planner was getting at. So,
Okay.
points well taken.
Okay, thank you, Kasumi. Anybody else?
Hi, sorry.
Oh, you did it. Can you shed some light on the windows, Roxio, on where the windows face?
Yeah, the windows face to the parking garage towards the restaurant, but they're high and yeah, I can shade them.
Yeah, okay. So you know what they're talking about. So they actually face towards the restaurant and the parking area of the plaza.
Yes.
Okay, great. Are there any windows facing the backside on Greenwood Street where Board Member Humphreys was talking about, where the martial arts studio is, or no?
There is a back door,
Yeah.
But windows.
Is that
but there is no
glass?
windows. There's no, it's not a glass door. It's
Okay.
just
But
a
there's no
metal.
windows, there's no windows facing back there.
No, no, no.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Kasumi?
Yeah, I walk there every day, so I'm gonna take a look, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's none shown on the architectural render. We got a drawing from, was it Lavecchia Designs?
Yes. Yep.
It shows the back door. It shows only the front window, so.
Yeah.
Doesn't show.
No,
any
but
other
it
windows.
shows the window on the wall, on the bottom wall. Those are windows between the front door and the back door.
Oh, those black
Yeah.
lines?
Yeah, those are windows.
Oh, they go into the alleyway behind that wall,
I think,
right?
yeah, those are facing the alleyway. Yeah, that's correct.
Where cars
Behind the
park.
Blue Moon Grill.
Right, where the
But I
cars
think
park.
they're high windows. I just, yeah.
Yes, they're high window.
Okay.
But again, there's a martial art studio, and then there are a lot of guys and ladies going in there day and night. So
The martial arts is in back.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
No, Mr. Chair, again, I was initially thinking, again, number of kids and play areas as we talked about on the last time we went through this. But, you know, Brian articulated that there is a possibility for an indoor play area. So as long as it's worked out with the state and it can be done. And, you know, then the number of kids may be limited, as he said. You know, this at least has, you know, parking lot. I think the pickup drop off as described should work. It's an interesting location for something like this, but again, I understand there's a need and there isn't really anything else in the area. And I was going to ask about signage, so happy to condition that potentially and come back on that. Because what's the name of the place? Do we have a name? What it's going to be called, or we just deal with that when we get to the signage?
No, it's good. Go ahead, Roxio.
Yeah, the name is Seven Continents Montessori.
Gonna go right by the name of the LLC, Dave.
Oh,
Yes.
that is the name of the school.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we would entertain a sign condition. So Roxio, if you thought about signage, we can talk about that.
Yeah, you already have like a,
You don't have to get into it tonight, waste the board's time. We'll talk about that, but we would very much entertain, the board retain jurisdiction on it, so.
okay, yeah, like
Yeah.
something like that, not pink, but
Yeah, we'll work it out.
yes.
All right, Greg,
Yeah, just quick, the state requirements, I believe are very strict anyway, but just a consideration of safety with that parking lot and drop offs. You know, that would be something that I would suggest.
okay. Anybody else? Okay, if that's it for the board, I'm gonna open it up for members of the public. If anybody's here to comment on this application, please indicate that you want to do so by using the raised hand function in Zoom. Not a lot of folks left, and I'm not seeing anyone, so going, gone. Matter is closed, public comment is closed, back to the board for the pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a special permit pursuant to 190-23 of the bylaw to the Seven Continents Montessori School LLC based on the information presented tonight in the architectural plan presented with our package from Lavecchia Design Company LLC dated July 15th, 2024 to allow the daycare center as requested by the applicant with the condition, well, I will state the findings of the board, accordance with the special permit, that the use requested is listed in the table of use regulations as requiring a special permit in the district for which the application is made. The requested use is essential and or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. The requested use will not create or add to undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. The requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal system for such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or any of the area of the town will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, nor be detrimental to the public health, convenience, or welfare. And the requested use will not, by its addition to the neighborhood, cause an excess of that particular use that could be detrimental to the character of said neighborhood. And this motion is carries a condition that the applicant come back on the proposed signage for the project at the appropriate time. And that's the motion. Oh, and Mike, sorry, Brian, we're also modifying as part of the same motion.
Yeah, amend prior special permits and prior modification decisions to allow a daycare use.
Right. So amending the motion that in addition to granting this special permit, we're modifying the previous decisions granted by the board and filed with the town clerk on November 5th, 2013 and March 5th, 2015.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion by the board? Greg, just a quick question. Was there something specific about the safety that you wanted to add as a condition there, or was that just a general comment?
No, just a general comment, just the consideration when they move in.
Okay. So with that, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Mickey,
Yes.
I vote yes. Matters unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. All right. As a board, we are next up on the agenda is other matters. Does anyone have any other matters they wanted to bring up? Yeah, it's a little unusual, Mr. Chambers. I got to tell you, because we closed your hearing.
I understand that.
We can't be in the business of giving out advice either. So
certainly not.
So, do you have a question?
I do. My question is sort of related to the non-conforming use that would necessitate an application for a determination or finding under that chapter.
If you had just listened to the last one we just did, it's almost exactly what yours is with the sunroom.
No, and I understand. And so my point. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
It's your contention that your lot is conforming?
It is not my content. My understanding is that the frontage and area of my lot are non-conforming as they currently sit, but the rest of the property does conform.
Well, you only need one non-conformity.
Understood. And under the non-conforming chapter, there needs to be a determination by the board that this is not going to extend or change the non-conformance, and I don't believe this will. So my request at this point would be that we continue the variance hearing until September 11th. I will apply for the determination, which can be granted without a hearing prior to September 11th, and we go from there.
We've already adjudicated it, Mr. Chambers. We can't go back. It doesn't really change the timing of it. If it at worst, it'll cost you 2 weeks. You got till August 27th to get your material in for the September 25th hearing.
And I cannot be heard on September 11th on this.
No, because you won't have enough. It's not filed in time so that we can get proper public notice, and we have to notify abutters. There's a whole process that gets.
Understood. My issue is that we filed for this variance, and we're not told that the application was not in conformance with the statute as written, which
Mr. Chambers, again, I tried to say that at the hearing. I don't want to belabor this. it's not up to the town building department to tell you that, right? If they made a mistake, then they have all that liability. They cannot give you that, which is why I strongly suggested that you get an attorney to look at that, so that then you can come in based with that help.
Understood. I will seek a determination. I will refile the application. Am I gonna have to repay all of the application fees?
We won't in this case.
Okay. Thank you, Miss.
It
I'll
will-
refile.
Okay,
I have a question. He doesn't have to refile for the variance?
he does. He
Yeah, I
filed
thought
for the
so.
wrong thing.
Right, so you have to
withdrew
do the application for a variance and a finding.
Right. Gail, because if it was not advertised properly, it's not properly before us.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why we can't use your other application.
And just for clarification, the determination can be issued without another public hearing and without notice, correct? That's my understanding.
No, it only takes, you only need 14 days rather than the 30 for a special permit or variance. But since you have to refile for the variance, it's going to be heard together.
Understood. No, my question is more that the determination of the non-conforming nature isn't changing the current non-conformance, does not need a hearing.
It does.
That's not how I read the statute, but okay.
Got a lawyer.
I am a lawyer. I am a lawyer. Thank you.
Oh, well, we didn't know that. You may want to consult with somebody that can help you here.
I appreciate
We're trying to help. I've never done this.
I get
allowed
that.
someone to come back, so, you know.
I thank you for your time this evening.
I think it only cost you 2 weeks, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right, board members, any other matters from the board?
Gail, any updates on Melise or Chestnut?
No.
So Melise has a demo permit?
Just interior demo, minor interior, exploratory.
Okay.
Do we have minutes?
And Chestnut is again
What's on Chestnut again? Remind me.
the bank with the extension of the
Oh, the
residential?
bank. No, nothing's come in that I know of, you know. I mean,
Okay.
with the third-party reviewer, that's what we do now. And half the time I don't know that they go there first. But
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
Just curious. I know we did an extension on 10 Broadway last time, and
Yeah,
so they've got more time, but these ones, just curious, when drive by them all the time and just don't see any activity. It's generally, you know, just curious if anything's moving in the background. Thank you.
Well, one other thing I do got to bring up is CCNF is looking for someone to go by and look at their mock-up panel. And I hate to pick on you, Joe, but if you're right across the street during the day, you think you can go over and check out their, you know, get a
Yeah.
copy of the plans and check up the mock-up panel? Are you okay doing that, or?
Yeah, I think I've seen it. I run by it every day, but I didn't think it was done. I thought it was right near that trailer. It's four-sided, but maybe that's something else they're building. I thought it was that mock-up panel, a four-sided mock-up panel.
Here, right, so I had jump back on. Are they ready? So I was my understanding they were ready to have someone come by and look at it.
I think they are now, but if I can connect with Joe directly to work that out, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know. Like it says, I can go by there. I'm right around the corner, so reach
I'll
out.
connect with you, Joe.
Yep.
All right, anybody else? Is everyone going to be all right with September 3rd, by the way?
I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
I grabbed
Tuesday,
notes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday. And it's the Tuesday after Labor Day, so I'm going to want to have that meeting like I want to get a hole in my head. That's no, we got no choice.
I'm sure they'll have all their ducks in a row and all the information available.
The day before you go back to school.
All right, Joe, we got clerk comments. Any clerk items you want to bring up?
Nothing, everything's quiet.
Okay. Now we're on to me.
Yep, Mr.
meeting
Chair,
minutes.
I vote that we, I move that we grant, approve the meeting minutes of our June 26th, 2024 meeting.
There should be 2 sets of minutes on there.
And
David?
July
Or I don't know if we had to
7th,
do them
July
separate.
10th.
We can do them together, fine. I
Yeah.
didn't know if we wanted two motions, but yeah, amend the motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 26th and July 10th, 2024.
That could be voice vote. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody against? No, doesn't look like it. A motion to adjourn is always in order at this hour.
So moved,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Again, voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your work tonight, everyone.